Oh, this is going to be weird. First time I've used the webcam in a while. Especially for anything Yu-Gi-Oh related. Oh, let's get that playing. I've been assured that the Master Duel soundtrack is probably fine, so what I really need to do is do it this way. I probably need to grab my laptop for shout outs and stuff. Also, I'm going to need some more light on the matter because it's a bit dark. That's the play mat I've been using for a while. It's a Brotherhood Goku Black mat that I paid very slightly over the odds for because it's Goku Black. Is there literally anywhere else I can put my webcam? My keyboard. Create a bit of extra space. This is basically what I did when I had when we were all doing like virtual duel setups. Oh, bollocks, that was bad. Try not to do that again. That's going to take ages to get back in the right position again. I can move my keyboard on top of my case and hopefully it won't switch my computer off. Right, now I've got enough room for the whole mat. Beautiful. I'm wondering if I should flip this upside down. Let me try and get that back in place. Hold on, let's put it like that, and then if I turn... God, this setup is so jank. This is how we used to do, what were they called? Look, during lockdown where we had to play, where we were playing Yu-Gi-Oh with remote, like remote duels, that's what it was. We did it with remote duels. It's really weird being able to see my own hands, like here. I'm wondering if I should flip this upside down. And also it looks like this needs to... I can move the camera over like this. Long way, like that. No, I cannot. It doesn't want to do that. This stand is so shite. I need a better one. Right, we need some more light as well. Is this going to be enough light? That looks like there's plenty of light on that. Right. That's going to blind me, but it should be okay. Howdy, Hightas. Yeah, we're doing, I put up the poll on Twitter earlier to see if people wanted to see all my Yu-Gi-Oh decks, because I've got a lot of them. And, well, people voted yes, so here we are. What I'm probably going to do is put them in order first, because there's like, the ones that are in actual deck boxes are like real decks, like ones that I could actually take to like a locals or something, whereas the rest are pet projects, things I haven't sort of really finished that much. So we're gonna, I've got to get them all out of here first. What's that? That's Makina Karakuri. Makina Curry. Just put that there, and then we've got Starry Night, which Ties of the Brethren are not sleeved because I ran out of sleeves. And then we've got Earthbounds, because I've been fanboying about Earthbound Immortals all day. I think that's pretty much what brought this whole idea on. That's Fleur, which is still a work in progress because Baron is goddamn expensive. We've got a Gate Guardian deck. I've got my Bakura deck, which is we do character decks, which everybody sort of just has a deck that's based around one character. Wait, that's not the Gate Guardian deck. Oh, that's a Bee Trooper. That's the Gate Guardian deck. I'm going to run out of space really quickly here. And then we've got Utopia Zexal. I could probably put the Earthbounds on top because they're a smaller deck. And we've got Agent. As long as they're all in the right order still, that'd be good. And we've got Dark World, as thanks to the latest structure deck. We've got Adamancipator. Just waiting for it to fall over, and then lastly in there we've got Monarchs. So that is That's 12. That is going to fall over if I put it there. Yep, and it's going to push everything with it. Hold on. I'm going to be lurking, doing a fair amount of baking. Oh, nice. I believe it's Mother's Day in some places. So is that in because of Mother's Day or just because you're doing baking? If I put them up here, it might be, or at least some of them up here, it might be better. Adamant's Pater is kind of weak. Dark World is kind of weak. Bee Trooper hasn't had enough work done. Monarch is pretty good. Utopia is pretty good. Gate Guardian I still don't really know what I'm doing with. And then Chevalier is also kind of crap because it's more Chevalier. Fleur was a deck that I sort of started building because I had a really cool idea that I'll come back to and explain in greater detail later. I should probably start. Yeah, I'll start with a weaker deck and I'll move my way up. So I guess that's all of those basically. The Chevalier is probably the worst one out of them. And then I'll probably do the Bakura deck last because I don't have enough room. Why didn't I think this through? Get up there. Right, so I'll do that one last. Then this one. Makina Karakuri is more experimental than anything else, I'll say that much. Starry Night is also pretty good as it turns out, and so is the Agent deck. So, but the Makina Karakuri I'll put up because it is experimental, but it's also not entirely bad. So, and then we've got Monarchs and Earthbounds, which sort of sit in a middle space because they are not terrible, but they aren't what would be sort of referred to as meta relevant. Which is weird because a lot of decks require the extra deck, and yet Monarchs, a deck that can shut off the extra deck, don't have as much relevance as they maybe should. I'm wondering if I should flip that upside down. Can I rotate this from here? I probably can if I... Now it kind of looks weird, but it's also in shot, so it makes more sense maybe, and I can probably want to stretch it a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Luckily this camera does zoom itself to 1920 by 1080, so I don't actually have to do a lot of work here. Right, I think that's probably about as good as it gets. Let's mod view. God, I've got so many tabs open. That's for the Elden Ring stuff. That's to do with the Earthbound cards. Good Omens is getting re-released, is getting a season 2, which is excellent news. That light is going to cause me problems later. I think I'll just start with the Bee Troopers. This is mainly because it's effectively more a pile of insect cards that I picked up because I did the Bee Trooper solo mission in Master Duels, and it honestly interested me. Plus, they got a new fusion that I don't have yet, but it's like a playset for £2, so it's not too bad. Other than that, yeah, really, I'm getting some advice on how to improve this. I've been doing bits and pieces myself as we go. So we got a few of these I'll probably have to read because I haven't had a chance to really test with them properly. Like I think I played with each of these decks. I've played at least one game, but then like the ones that are in the deck boxes are ones that I'm very, very well versed in, whereas there are some that I'm sort of more undecided on. Also, I'm missing one. Where is my... There's one missing. There should be one more deck. Because I'm doing this all in pre-setup. There's a Yusei deck and a Jack deck, which... I'm missing the Math Mechs. Just use that as a field centre. It's not even visible because of the sleeve. I wonder if it'll even come up on screen. It's an extra secret rare Avramax that I bought for $10 because it was $10. If I take it out, I put it into like 3 layers of sleeves. It's visible, that's good. So that'll be my field center. Where is... Oh, it might be in... Oh no. It might be in that top drawer. And then at the end I'm going to show off my collection folder. Let me just... I'm going to have to pull this drawer all the way out, aren't I? Yep, because it is in there. That's just sleeves. Yeah, I knew there was one missing. Christ, come on, get back in please. Thank you. Yeah, so the 6 that are in deck boxes are the ones that I play a lot more of and like would consider taking to at least locals level. They're not like as bad, they're not terrible. Some of these are just purely ideas at present rather than actually fully fleshed out decks. B-Trooper is basically just a big pile of B-Trooper cards. So I've got one of the Mighty Neptune, 3 of the Sting. The Sting is a really good interruption card because it's a quick effect to bounce a card from your graveyard and a card from your opponent. One of my main decks is Machina, and there's nothing more annoying than your opponent holding one of these and bouncing Ruin Force back into the deck. That's just pain. Light Flapper, which I don't really know what it does. There's a lot of things that I just don't know what they do. Assault Roller, special summon it by banishing an insect, so it's just like a free special summon. Because I don't have a lot of the nicer tools, I'm running the Link monsters, as well as obviously the fusions. Scale Bomber is like a Ghost Ogre basically. If it's normal or special, you can special summon it from your hand. When a monster activates an effect, you can basically blow it up. I don't believe it negates the effect. We've got B-Trooper Scout Buggy, which does nothing but summons another one from anywhere basically. So it's just free materials. And then I got Dragon Bites the other day because these are actually really cool. So when it's normal summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower insect from your hand, which should be Resonance, of course. You can banish a level 4 or lower insect from your hand, graveyard, or face-up field, then target a monster you control, increase its level. So yeah, you do Resonance Insect for both effects, and you get all of them in one turn, which is really, really powerful. Resonance Insect is sort of the core of this deck. I'm still getting some advice on how to properly use this deck and how to build it better. I'm getting a lot of it on my own, but like obviously advice from somebody who knows the deck is obviously a good thing. I think this angle isn't great. I can't even move it up that well. But yeah, so if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a level 5 or higher insect from your deck to your hand. If it's banished, you can send an insect from your deck to your graveyard. So obviously, not bad. Infinite Antlion, I'm running 3 of because I don't know exactly why. The start of the damage step, when an insect battles, you can target a card, like you pop one card you control and one card your opponent controls. Once per turn, when the opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon it from your hand. If it's normal special summoned, you can equip an insect monster from your hand or graveyard to it, and it gains 500 attack and defense. So that comes in handy later on, I believe. I don't know if it actually does work with this one. Must first be fusion summon or special summon by attributing one insect with 2000 or more defense. Yeah, so if you equip something with it, which you usually will, usually like a resonance insect, it goes up to 2k defense, and then you can use it as material just to summon out the ultimate great insect, which is like a great moth clone. Parasite Paranoid, equipped to your opponent's monster. This is because B-Trooper for me isn't going to be a B-Trooper deck forever. I want it to be an Earthbound Immortal deck, because I want to be able to do the Cocoon of Greater Evolution, or whichever one it is, where you tribute a monster equipped with an insect to summon an insect from your deck, and Earthbound Immortal Uru is an insect. And also they've got B-Troopers actually have a pretty good field spell, so it makes sense. Parasite Paranoid is probably one of the best options you've got really there, because Parasite Parasite was kind of wank. B-Trooper Formation, I know one of its effects is it allows you to summon an insect from graveyard and you take damage. You target a B Trooper in your graveyard, special summon it, but it cannot attack, also you lose life points equal to its original attack. The face-up insect you control is destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon a token. So, yeah, like there's also a lot of token generation in here, which is really good for Earthbound Immortal decks, especially when your field spell also summons insects back. Like, to be fair, paying 3,000 life points to get Earthbound Immortal Uru out of the grave to beat your opponent in the face directly for 3k is really, really powerful. Then we've got Landing, which is the fusion one, which I don't use as often. Again, I haven't basically ever really played this deck. But, yeah, you've got the Ultra B Trooper, Absolute Hercules, and the new fusion. And you've also got Ultimate Great Insect, but generally you'll be summoning it using its alternate summoning condition in the same way as you would be like a Cyberdark End Dragon, which is for Cyberdark equipped with Cyber End Dragon, or I think it's one of the Cyberdark fusions. If a Cyberdark fusion is equipped with Cyber End Dragon, then you can just tribute that to summon Cyberdark End Dragon. There's a couple of cards in the game that have that summoning condition. It's really helpful for like stupidly big beat sticks that have, you know. Descent is literally just summon a token, and then if you control an insect with 3k or more, you can just MST basically, that doesn't target, which is pretty good. Like, I mean, I don't really know what back row protection, what back row there is that has targeting protection, but I suppose either way it doesn't really matter much. Flying Sting is a counter trap, the Archetype specific counter trap. When they activate a monster effect, you can negate and destroy it basically, and if you control an insect with 3k or more, you can banish an insect to set it again, which is really, really good. Because it's just like a reusable, it's very similar to the Infernity one. The new Infernity one, not the old one, not Barrier. Why can't I remember? I can't remember what the new Infernity. It's not a counter trap. It's like a normal trap. I'll remember it like 2 hours from now, when it's too late. And the last card is Squad, which is just tribute an insect, special summon tokens, basically. So it's very similar to like just playing Worm Bait if you want tokens. And there's a few other ones as well that you can use that do more or less the same thing. You've got Ultra B Trooper, Absolute Hercules, so it's unaffected until the end of next turn. At the end of the battle phase, you can target an insect with 3k or less and special summon it. So this is just once per turn resummon Earthbound Immortal Uru, which is ridiculously powerful. Then you got the Ultimate Great Insect, which is, you can either fusion summon it by using a level 7 and a level 8 insect, which is generally not how you'll ever summon it, but there's the alternate summoning condition, which is tribute a insect with 2k or more defense equipped with an equipped card, cannot be destroyed by battle. Hold on, does Parasite Paranoid turn the thing that it's equipped to into an insect? Yeah, it does. So you can also tribute an opponent's monster that you've equipped Parasite Paranoid to, which is nuts. Cannot be destroyed by battle once per turn. If a face-up card is in a field spell card zone, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls, which is obviously really powerful. And then we've got the 3 link 4s and the 3 link 2s. Pick a Felina, which is 2 insects. If it's link summoned, you can ditch one. Target a monster you control. Target an insect and equip an insect from your deck to it as an equipped spell that gains this effect. So it gains 500 attack and defense. You can also Dugust to Emerald. You can shuffle back in 3 insects to draw 1, which is pretty good. Yeah, so this is probably the weakest deck I have because there has been no work done on it whatsoever. It's just a big pile of, literally just a huge pile of insect monsters that might be useful in the deck at some point in the future. This will be getting updated to an Earthbound Immortal deck though, because the amount of token generation you've got from B Troopers on their own, plus their field spell, plus Absolute Hercules, like basically just giving you unlimited monster reborns of an Earthbound Immortal is crazy. So while that deck's in progress, it's still got potential for like future work. Sorry, I have what's left of a bottle of Coke Zero Vanilla that I'm working my way through. Right, what is next? I'm going to go with... Actually, where's my... I've got a Crystal B stack as well. I don't think that's in any sleeves. Or it might just be in somewhere else. Because it's literally just 3 structured decks smashed together. With no real additions or subtractions. So I've built a Fleur deck. The reason I got into building this is because I read Sage to Fleur, and I thought, you know what would be really great is this would be great with an Unchained. You could play like Unchained to Fleur. The problem with the idea of it is, of course, that Baron is stupid expensive, which not good if you want to build decks, basically. So in the end, what I did is I went the other way with the deck, because there's 2 options I really had for this. One of them would have been the Unchained one, and then the other one is a Synchron variant, because they use Fleur and Necro Synchron to get to Chevalier de Fleur, as well as actually no, that's all they got, and then they got Centaur Mina, which I keep forgetting how to use the proper, because I keep putting Poly back in here with Fusion Recycle Plant, completely forgetting that I believe it's one of the horses of the Floral Knights. Horse of the Floral Knights. It acts as its own built-in polymerization. So for now, it is a Synchron version, which is actually significantly weaker, but it will be an Unchained variant once we get a print of Baron that is not £100, because fuck that. So at the top end we've got Chevalier de Fleur, which is literally, if it's normal or special summon, target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field. Cannot attack, and it is destroyed during the end phase. Real simple. The reason Chevalier is good at all, basically, is because it can be summoned off Necroflow, which is, if it's destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, special summon that from your deck. And that's a level 8 monster with 2900 attack. So this is why Unchained to Fleur came to mind, because you can pop that with Aruha, Rakea, and we can't do it with Sarama, but you can still use their other things to pop it. Phantom Knight Breaksword, and that's what I use in my actual Unchained. Like, there's a lot of things that can just blow stuff up to give you unbelievable benefits. Like Chevalier is effectively... I need to double check if that can be done during your opponent's turn. Like, if you pop Necrofleur during your opponent's turn, when Chevalier hits the field, I think that's if it's a when. I'll have to get a judge question on that one. But anyway, basically when it's summoned, it's a Doomkaiser Dragon, basically. So that's really powerful on its own. The attack and defense stats don't really mean anything. It's just if you get a level 8, then you're good. But you know, there's tons and tons of options. Sage de Fleur is the reason I wanted to build Unchained de Fleur in the first place, and like this I have to read to be believed, because I keep forgetting what it does. You can target a monster you control on a card on the field, special summon this from your hand if you do destroy them both, which obviously is really good for Unchained, because you pop 2 cards you control and then they both float into other Unchained. And also you get a level 8 with 2900 0 defense. If it's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target another monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, then add a level 1 plant monster from your deck to your hand, or graveyard to your hand. So basically it's literally just pop 2 cards, special summon a level 8 with 2900 attack. If I was able to build the Unchained variant of this deck, that would be the most powerful thing, because it can be done from hand. So your opponent will not see it coming as an option in Unchained. You could probably just run this straight up in Unchained, and there would be no reason not to. The next one is White Steed of the Floral Knights. If you control level 2 or lower monster, which there are some of, you can special summon it from your hand in defense. You can only special summon it once per turn this way. When the opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this and target a card you control, negate the attack, and destroy that targeted card. So, again, it's the same. You could do this with Unchained, basically. You could negate their attack, pop your thing, get Abominable Unchained from the deck, pop their card because you've destroyed your thing that allowed you to float into Abominable Unchained. This deck could work. That's the thing that bothers me, is that having to get... I mean, it's not a problem getting a second Unchained deck, because I think mostly everything has been reprinted in common. It's just getting hold of Baron. Baron really meshes these two decks together in a way that makes it worth it. Then we've got Horse of the Floral Knights, which is the polymerization, like built-in polymerization. If it's normal or special summoned, you can add a light Noble Knight monster from your deck to your hand. This is because there are 2 Noble Knights that are specific, not really specific to the Fleur stuff, but may as well be for all intents and purposes. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during your main phase, you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck. Using this card, you control other materials from your hand or field as fusion material. This is because we run 3 copies of Centaur Mina, which we'll come to later. Like, the thing is this deck isn't broken. There's nothing like explicitly overpowered about it. It's just a lot of fun. Like the kind of mind games you can play with your opponent on them. Quick Draw Synchron, I'm only running 2 of at the moment. I think I'm running Tuning, right? Yeah, so I'm running Tunings. It's just ditch a card, special summon it. It can be used as any Synchron, so usually you're going to just use it to get into Chevalier, which is just a spell trap negate, basically. And all you need is a level 3, which in this case could be that. Right, the next one is Junk Converter, which is you can discard this in a tuner, add a Synchron monster from your deck to your hand. If it's sent to the graveyard as Synchron material, you can target a tuner and special summon it in defense, but it cannot activate its effects this turn. So basically it's just search a Synchron, get into Chevalier effectively. I don't think this can be used for anything that isn't... Yeah, so Quick Draw can only be used for Chevalier in this deck. I love that there are going to be people who, like when I first started playing this, well, when I first started getting the Fleur stuff together, because this used to be an Ultra. They had, originally you had Chevalier, Sorcerer and Fleur Synchron as ultra rare WC10 promos. They were game promos and they were ultra rares, and they're not even that hard to get these days. So if this deck ends up taking off, I will be just upgrading rarities because they're pretty. 1 Synchron Carrier. During our main phase, you can normal summon a Synchron in addition to your normal summon set. If another Synchron is sent to the graveyard as material for Synchro, Warrior or Machine, while you control this card, you can get a token that's level 2, basically. It doesn't really do much, and it's I only run 1 because it's crap. It's just basically a 40th card. Necro Synchron. Most of what this does is it becomes Fleur Synchron. However, while on the field in a graveyard, you can use once per turn you can target a face-up monster you control, increase its level by 2. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 1 plant monster from your deck. Again, you're looking to get to Necro Fleur as often as possible with this, so that's completely reasonable. Then we got Standard Fleur Synchron. If it's sent to the graveyard Synchro, you can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand, which isn't really that great, but it can be useful in some situations. And then we've got Necro Fleur, which we talked about earlier. Just if it's blown up, summon Sorcerer from deck. Real simple. You just, in the Unchained variant, of course, you'll like T-set pass, like T-set blow it up with Aruha, you go crazy, basically. So on to the 2 Noble Knights, which of course I run 3 of because there aren't a lot of options to run in this deck. If it's normal or special summoned, you can banish a light monster from your graveyard to draw 1. You can banish this card from your hand or field, add a level 6 or lower wind beast monster from your deck to your hand. So that's either of your horses, Horse of the Floral Knights or White Steed, because they're both wind beast types. So they're kind of, that's basically what that's for, like you just get the thing you need. Basically it's just toolboxing. And then Spear Holder, which is, if it's normal special summoned, you can target a level 8 or lower monster you control. Its name becomes Fleur Synchron and is treated as a tuner. And you can also attribute this adding equip spell from your deck to your hand. Not really all that useful, to be fair. Like, you can treat it itself as Fleur Synchron. Yeah, you can treat itself as Fleur Synchron to get into the Chevalier. Like, the problem is the Chevalier is not enough of a good boss monster to really have this much support around it. Baron is, but Baron is also like £100, and fuck that. 2 copies of Synchro Dilemma. So you can send a Synchron monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard, special summon a monster from your hand, which is already really crazy, considering a lot of the effects of Unchained stuff are just like, oh, I'll just put it on the field. Because this doesn't negate their effects, unlike Dark Spirits, which do. The other one is target a card you control and destroy, and if you do, special summon a Synchron with a different name from your hand or graveyard. So again, you just, oh look, I've got an Unchained on board. Even up to Disaster, I think Abominable Unchained is pretty much the only bad option for that. But effectively, you use it to, you can just get, it doesn't matter, you just blow up your own monsters. So it's all good. We've got Summon Storms, which is my favourite card I've found in ages. Because my friend has a Gusto deck, and I had to give him copies of this for that deck. I've also got like 9 play sets of this, because eventually I will build a Gusto deck, and this is so unbelievably powerful for just what it does. So, you can pay 800 life points, special summon a level 6 or lower wind monster from your hand, which is, in this deck, it's mainly just your horses. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to graveyard, you can banish this from your graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower wind monster from your hand. So, it's just, basically you get, on the first effect, you get your white steed, on your second effect, you get the horse. And, like, I mean, it's not even entirely necessary, because a lot of things just special summon themselves, but this card is so much fun to actually resolve. It's like, kind of like Teleport, I'd say. 1 copy of Rota, because most of the deck is Warriors. 3 copies of Tuning, because of how all the Synchrons we have in the deck. And then Foolish Burial Goods, I can't even remember why it's still in here. I think it had something to do with... Oh, yeah, so you can put your Summon Storm in the grave, of course. I think the sword had an effect that benefits from being in the grave or something, but I can't remember. So for the extra deck, we have a lot of really crap, basically. A lot of these secondary decks that I'm doing first are decks where I've been using stuff from like Dual Devastator and stuff like that, because I just don't have all the extra deck cards that I really want or need for the decks. So we're just using random crap mostly, but I've tried to make it as good as I can make them anyway. So we've got 3 Chevalier, which of course is just once per turn spell trap negate. Pretty not. It's actually worse than Sorcerio because it has less attack and defense. It has more defense but less stats overall. Stats that matter. Chevalier is pretty cool. I love the artwork on it. It's just a shame these aren't ultras or any higher rarity. Actually, I think this came in secret. I think, let me see, I'll see, I think it was Legendary Duelists. It came in, not Legendary Duelists, Legendary Collection. Chevalier, nope. Chevalier de Fleur. There you go, I got there eventually. It's because of where my keyboard is, I'm not used to it being on my lap. I think it actually did have a really high rarity print. It was super in, oh, it was Tag Force 5, it came in as a promo. No, yeah, so it's only had Super, Ultra and Rare. So the highest rarity would be the Tag Force 5 printing. Worth it. I'd pay like, I think it's like a $5. That's such a good deal for like a card that I will be using. And then after that we've got 1 Trishula upgrade. Mainly because I wanted to... Trishula is really good, and like the amount of times you have the materials to make a level 9 with 3 materials is just crazy. So, I've never actually even read this one. The thing is it's good, but it's only as good as many Trishas as you're allowed. When it's synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. Is this, that's non-targeting still, which is great. If this synchro summon card in its own control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon a Trishula with the Ice Barrier from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3300, then half the attack of any face-up monster your opponent currently controls and negate their effects. That is crazy. I also watched, whose video was it? Somebody did a video on MathMech 101. It's comedy, it's like a parody video. But they summoned this, and then it got blown up, and then they summoned a Trishula off it and just won, because the halving attack, attack negation, effect negation, all that kind of stuff is really, really powerful. Everybody knows what Trishula does. 3 materials, banish 1 from hand, field, and graveyard. Just crazy. I'm also, unfortunately, only got 1 in Ultra and 1 in MGed. Although that's not too bad. I want more of the dual terminal ones, which I'll show later. 1 Abyss, it's just an Omni Negate, may as well, why not? Two Scrap Dragons. This is when we're in territory of random shit that just works, and I just had it, so it's in the deck because it sort of works. We have a Black Rose Dragon. Oh, that reminds me actually, I need to put my Ruddy Rose Dragon in. I got a playset of Ruddy Rose Dragons for like £1 because of the reprint. So I can actually run that in here now. Like I said, a lot of these secondary decks do need upgrades. That's what they're clearing fast. Not really anything I'd ever summon, just a 15th card effectively, and then Centaur Mina, which is actually part of the deck, which is once per turn, when your opponent activates a trap, you can negate it, and if you do, set it again. You can only use each effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand or graveyard. If it's sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can destroy a face-up monster on the field, non-targeting. Not bad. Especially considering how many things in the deck say they want to be level 2 tuners in order for you to use them to make Chevalier, so you get a non-target pop. And you're also basically upgrading its effect. It's not a bad fusion actually for a level 6. Especially not for like a basically just an anime card. But yeah, this will be, like with the B-Troopers, this will get upgraded eventually. This will be an Unchained Defleur deck. And that's going to be hype as shit, because I love Unchained. I hated them when I first saw them, because, like, obviously if you're playing against them, it's a very different experience. But they're not, they're like, there's a lot of versatility in there. Let's do, I kind of want to do Dark World, because I want this out of the way quickly, because I don't really have a lot to say on it. I think everybody knows what Dark World is and does. They did get some new stuff as well though. That's why I ended up being able to actually build it, because like even common copies of fucking Dark World dealings for nearly £4 a copy, which just isn't healthy. So we'll start with their new fusion, which is Grapha. When your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell or trap while you have a card in your hand, you can activate this effect. The activated effect becomes your opponent discards 1 card. So everything that you have, anything your opponent activates can become your opponent discards 1 card, which means all your Dark Worlds will be triggered by their secondary effect that allows them to, you know, like I think Grapha reborns a monster from your opponent's graveyard or something stupid like that. Like, there are a few stupid things that I want to test with this, but it's going to take a while to get those set up. So, if it's a fusion summoned card in its own control leaves the field, you can special summon a standard Grapha that's banished or in my graveyard. Then each player draws with a hand, discards 1 card. So it's like there's a lot of different effects on that, but it's really, really powerful. And the other part is double Fabled Valkyrus. When I used to have a much older version of Dark Worlds, most of my plays were Fabled Valkyrus into Adrius and Tiraz, because I had the Generation 4 secrets, but I don't have those anymore, and that makes me sad. Yeah, there's only 5 cards in the extra deck because I don't know what else to put in here, like, and I run out of like legitimate targets. So we've got the new Rainbow, the non-suck one. The old one sucked, but the new one is insane. So you can special summon it by returning a level 7 or lower Dark World monster from you control to your hand. So it's like Grapha, but it's for any Dark World card as well. If it's discarded to graveyard by card effect, you can add a level 5 or higher Dark World monster from your deck to your hand except itself, so you're going to add Grapha, Gold or Silver. This deck is optionally, you can play Gold and Silver or Lucent and Latinum, depending on if you're going for Exceed 5 or Exceed 6 plays, but I haven't obviously sorted that out yet, so here we are. Then if this card was discarded by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dark World monster from your deck or graveyard to either field, which is why I'm running Celery. Eventually I will get to a point where I can use that consistently, and it'll be funny. Grapha, everybody knows this. If it's discarded, pop something. If it was discarded by your opponent, look at 1 random card in your opponent's hand. If it's a monster, you can special summon it to your field. So, it's not from graveyard, it's just from their hand. It's pretty powerful, and especially since the sort of theme of this version of Dark World is to steal stuff from your opponent or make them do what you want your cards to do. Oh, only 2 gold, only 2 silver. I must have run out of sleeves. Gold is when it's discarded, special summon it, and if it's discarded by your opponent, you can pop two cards your opponent controls. Again, a lot of this is built around the new idea of forcing your opponent into making them discard for you, basically. So gold is always, like, the goal is to always get gold to do that. Unfortunately, this effect does target, and then silver does backrow, I believe, or Nope, they place exactly 2 cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck. So you can. This is sort of where I found the idea of forcing a lot of effects out, is because you can hand loop, you can make your opponent hand loop themselves, which would be funny. Snow is a searcher. When it's discarded, it searches, and its secondary effect is. Oh, if it was a monster, you can special summon it if it was used by your opponent's effect. Usually you just search a field spell though, or one of the spells, because they're kind of like, that's, you use it as part of your strategy. Brow is draw 1 if it's discarded by your opponent, draw 2. Yep. Pearl is one of the new ones. If it's discarded, you can target a Dark Lord in your graveyard, special summon it to either field. If it's discarded by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon to either field one of your fiend monsters that's banished in your hand or graveyard. Yeah, so that's one of the new ones. Celery is if it's discarded by your opponent's. If it's discarded, you summon it to your opponent's side of the field, I think. If it's discarded, special summon it to your opponent's field. If it's special summoned by the effect of a Dark World card, your opponent discards 1 card. So it will always force your opponent to cause you to discard 1, so it'll always count as them causing you to discard 1. Gates of Dark World, all fiends gain 300. Once per turn you can, I can't remember the order, banish 1, draw 1, discard 1. Pretty generic. Accession is their new fusion spell. By banishing materials from field or graveyard. If fusion summoning a Dark World, you can also discard monsters as material. If it's in your graveyard, you can add this to your hand and discard a Dark World monster. So it's a perpetual sort of, unless your opponent's running like Whitehorn Dragon, the odds of this card going away at any point in the game are very, very slim. Card destruction, of course. The only reason I'm not running Morphine Jar in here actually is because I only own 1 and it's in my Bakura deck. Everybody knows what Drag Down does. Both players look at each other's hands and discard 1 card. Double-sided confiscation. Dark World Dealings, both players draw 1, discard 1. Somewhere I've got them Mothman, but I didn't want to run Dangers because then I end up in a position where I'm playing like just basically playing a Danger deck with additional Dark Worlds, which I try and avoid doing as much as possible. Puppetry is a new one. So target 3 cards, up to 3 cards in either graveyard and banish them. Then discard a fiend monster during your main phase. You can banish this, then target a banished fiend and add it to your hand. Honestly, if I was going to take anything out, I think this would probably be it. This isn't. I don't feel like that's very good. It's just a discard, but when 90% of your deck also discards. I suppose the only benefit to it is that it discards at spell speed 2. Triple Allure because everything's dark. And double trading because Grapha and the Rainbows are level 8, so you've got 6 targets, 2 copies. And then you got their new counter trap, which is when a monster would be normal. Oh, it's not a counter. It's a solemn. When a monster would be normal summoned or special summoned, you can negate the summon, destroy it, and discard a fiend. If a Dark World you control will be destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you banish this. So it's effectively mixing solemn warning. I think warning. I don't think warning does normal summons. But yeah, you're basically doing a costless solemn plus Return of the Dragon Lord's effect that protects your cards, and that's all the Dark Worlds. It's basically just like a 3 structure deck smashed together minus all the dangers. Because like I said, I don't want to really play a danger deck. I want to be playing a Dark World deck. It's been too long since I've had a Dark World deck, and it's the same with Crystal Beasts. Like they both got really good structure decks, and actually the Crystal Beast one was absolutely insane. Like some of their new support, it actually makes it really hard to build a deck out of just 3 structure decks because there's so much good support in there that you kind of want to use it all, but you can't because deck limits. I think I'll just do Adamantipator next. This is fairly basic. Again, this is basically I bought 2 different. I bought 2 Adamantipator cores that had the separate stuff in it. Because one of them didn't have all of it, but it had most of it, and I think this was the one that had, so one of them had rocks in super and the other one didn't, and one of them had suppliers, and the other one didn't. So it's just sort of like, you know, having to buy two. I think it cost me a total of like 25 quid to basically build an entire Adamantipator deck. Minus, like, I've got the block dragons as well. Of course they're banned, but I still have them. So we'll start with the main deck and then I'll go on to extra. So I've got one copy of Gaia Plate the Earth Giant, which this card is impossible to fucking find. It's literally just banished 2 to summon it, and I think anything that battles with it is halved. Yeah. During your standby phase, remove a rock monster or send it to the graveyard, hardly attack and defense for any monster that battles with it. But the problem is on eBay, all you can find is the ultimate rare, which is like 30 or 40 quid. Like, hold on, let me see if I can go to eBay. I can do that, of course I can. Gaia Plate the Earth Giant. Because I don't even know if it's even had a... So, there's an Ultra here for £12, which I'm going to open the tab for. It's actually not in terrible condition. It's not first, but then again, neither is this one. But yeah, like, the most commonly found one, like £45, £35, £30. It's just ridiculous. 30... There's one that's Japanese that's only a fiver, £45, £30 for that's for the Ultra as well. 70, but then again that's with like £40 postage. It's actually insane how and then there's a bunch of them on auction. Like, who the fuck would auction for a card that you're never going to use? Adamantipator has been dead basically since Block Dragon got banned. So this card has no relevance, but yeah, it's somehow stupid expensive. It's probably because it's only had one printing. I bet it's one of those stupid cards. Gaia Plate the Earth Giant. I bet it's only had one print. I bet this, what is it? AMPR. I bet it's only been printed once. Yeah, literally one Ultra, one Ulti in the same set in Ancient Prophecy in 2009. But that doesn't validate it being as fucking expensive as that. I'm going to keep that tab open because I might actually buy that one. Just so I've got 2 of these, because I need the second one really badly. Originally I was just going to run Mega Rock Dragon, but let's be serious, it's okay at best. Next we've got double copies of Power Giant, which is you can ditch a card from your hand to special summon this guy. This either gains... Yeah, this loses the level equal to the monster it's summoned, so it'll always be level 6. Hey, Exhumed Matter, how's it going, my dude? Sorry about this, hold on. Exhumed Matter. I spelled it right. Brilliant. Oh, it's because I'm on a new screen, there is no shout out video, but shout out. Sorry, my keyboard's on my lap, which is where it usually isn't, so it's kind of hard to type any... Okay, it's actually playing on my other scene, isn't it? Yeah, that's kind of fucking annoying. Hold on. Let me turn that off because it's not always active, isn't it? Yeah, there shouldn't be... Sorry. Wait. Yeah, it shouldn't be doing that at all. Yeah, I'm talking about my decks. So far we've gotten through 3 of them, which were B-Trooper, Chevalier, LeFleur and Dark World. Currently we are on Adamantipator. I was just talking about how stupid this card is to find. I've just found one on eBay that is £12 with free postage, so I've bookmarked that because I want it. I want a second copy of this for this deck. So with Power Giant, you discard anything that's level 4 or lower to special summon it, and it loses that level, so 2, 3, 4. If you discard basically a tuner, you're basically guaranteeing yourself a level 6 Synchro monster, which is really good, plus whatever else you got on the board at the time. If it attacks or until the... if this attacks or is attacked, until the damage step, any effect damage you take becomes 0. Like, basically it's just an extra body that you're going to put on the field with its own effect, which is really cool. Obviously you have to discard something, but usually that's what you do with the rocks, so it's all good. Then we've got 2 copies of also the Earth Channeler, which is literally just drop search literally any Earth monster in the game. Well, not literally, sorry, that's a lie. With 1850 or less attack. But it's good because all of the main Adamantispators all have that. And they're all Earth. So basically it's just a way to thin your deck out, get some more stuff in the grave. Then we've got our Analyzers, This is the if your opponent controls a monster, you can special. If only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon it. So it's effectively a cyber dragon, but you can also normal summon it for excavate top 5. Special summon an excavated level 4 or lower non-tuner rock monster and place the rest back on the bottom of the deck. Everything in here is rock, so anything will be good. And I've also got, I think I've got quite a good Kakimaru engine in here, so that's not terrible. Researcher is if you control a rock monster, you can special summon it. This is the expensive one, I think. If you control a rock monster except itself, you can special summon it, excavate, and do the same thing basically. Just summon a level 4 or lower that you excavate off the top of your deck. Yeah, these are all tuners, I believe. Yeah, so 4, 2, and 2, they're all tuners, and they can all be special summoned in different ways, I believe. So yeah, then you've got Researcher, and finally you've got Seeker, which is if you control an adamant spader that is not Seeker, you can special summon it, excavate, blah 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 blah. Then we've got 2 of each rock, so 2 of the fire rock, 2 of the water rock, and 2 of the wind rock. They don't really do anything, and if they do anything, I've never even paid attention to it. They're just discard fodder and rocks. They're literally bodies on the board, so you can get into Gallant Granite and search out Nibiru that I don't even own. Then we've got Kakimaru Supplier. This one is if a rock monster is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand. If it's special summoned, you can add an Iron Core of Kakimaru or any monster that or any card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. So of course you've got all these Kakimaru cards, so that's what that search is, and it's basically it just replaces a body with a body. You've got 3 overloads, which is your monster, your summon negator. You've got Guardian, which is your monster effect negator, which is this is the thing you want to get to before your opponent Nibiru's you or tries to hand trap you or whatever. Then you've got Double Wall, which is the spells, and 1 copy of Sandman, which is the trap. Generally, the reason I'm only running one of these is generally when you run into traps, this is going to be slower than that trap anyway, so there's no real point of trying to negate it, because 99% of the time you're just not going to be in the situation where you can negate what they're playing. 1 copy of Tackle Crusader, just because I like that this is such a fucking cool card. So if it's entered the graveyard, you can either target a face-up monster your opponent controls and put it in defense. You can book a moon it, or you can target a face-up spell and trap your opponent controls and bounce it back to the hand, and they can't reactivate that card. Then of course you got Doki Doki, which is you can discard a rock and then look at a rock on your board, go into your deck and get a rock that is the same level. Yeah, the same level as it in face-up attack or face-down defense. Basically it's just another way to get to additional excavate cards. Like you get Researcher and Analyzer, Researcher and the other one, or you can get rocks. Then you got Signs, which is target a rock monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Then if you do, if you summoned an Adamantipator, you can take a level 4 or lower rock monster from your deck and put it on top of your deck. I won't usually do the second effect except for Supplier, or maybe one of the special summons itself to excavate ones. Then we have Friends. Excavate top 5 cards of your deck equal to, excavate top cards of your deck equal to the number of rocks you control plus 5. You can add to your hand an excavated rock with a level equal to or lower than the number of excavated cards. Also place at the bottom. You can't special summon except for rocks. Doesn't really matter. It's just a way to get to other stuff in the deck. And of course you've got the counter, which is effectively a negate and destroy for monster effects only. So then the extra deck, we have Double Dragite, which is literally an Omni Negate. Raptite, which I've actually taken to enjoying a lot more, and I gave a couple copies to my friend who has the Gusto deck. And it's effectively just, I think it's either banish or bounce one from graveyard. For a wind monster in your graveyard, you can target a card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. Yeah, so it's during your opponent's turn you can fuck's sakes. Nope, I've lost the button now. Nope, there. Yeah, so you can quick effect banish a card from their graveyard, which can really hurt them. Leonite very rarely use this, but you can target a rock in your graveyard and special summon it. which is pretty good if you've got a researcher or an analyzer or whatever in your graveyard. White Aura Bahamut. I don't know what this card does. I'm not really running it because it's a good card, I'm just running it because it fits. Supreme Sword Soul Sovereign Shenying. So it gains attack and defense based on each banished card, and your opponent loses attack and defense equal to that. You can banish a card from your graveyard. Hold on. If this would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish a card from your grave instead. If a card is banished, you can banish a card from both your opponent's field and graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. It's just a big beat stick, basically. I also use this in my zombies. Scarlight just blows up everything with less than 3k attack at the cost of it being able to attack. A Scrap Dragon, because it's a level 8 Synchro. A Coral Dragon, because this is one of the targets for Power Giant a lot of the time, because it's also a tuner, so you can go up into like a Dragite or something from it, or a Raptite. And then finally, of course, the Gallant Granites, because why not? I don't have Nibiru to search off them, sadly, but if I did, that's what they'd be used for. That's 4. And that leaves up here the Gate Guardian deck, which I haven't done anything with. It's to the point where there are literally empty sleeves in the extra deck because I haven't worked out what to put in it yet. So this is exciting, kind of. Actually, this is kind of boring. I'm going to put this one away now. I don't know enough about that deck to even consider talking about it. Right, let me move my keyboard back over here, because actually I can put it here. There's a breeze coming out of my computer and it's quite nice, but now I'm realising it's also quite hot. Let's take a quick drink before moving on to the next 5. Well, next 7. Crikey. Alright, we're going to start with... let's start with Monarchs. So, everybody knows that Monarchs are basically one of the better anti-meta decks that have ever really existed, due to their ability to lock down your opponent's extra deck. In a game where the extra deck, like a deck can basically live or die on whether or not they're able to access their extra deck, that's kind of a big deal. And Monarchs do that very, very well, and they're about to get some more support, I believe. So we have 2 Ether, which can be quick effect summoned, and when it is, you can send 2 Monarch spells or trap from your deck to the graveyard to special summon a Monarch from your deck. It gets bounced back to your hand at the end of some point. You can also tribute summon it by tributing a tribute summoned monster. Do I still run? Nope, I may have taken them out. That's disappointing. I used to run Gizmek Yatta, which is one of the better Gizmeks for tribute summon decks. But yeah, it's a quick effect to tribute summon it, so it's really good. I run 1 copy of the Mega Caius, which is just you banish. It's basically just Caius effect, except if you tribute a Dark, you can banish 2 cards instead of 1. And then double Mega Thestalos, which is look at your opponent's hand, discard a card, then if it was a monster, inflict damage equal to its level times 200. If it was tribute summoned during using a fire monster, you can also burn them for 1k. Generally, these 2 will be used together, like you'll tribute one for the other, just because they're the only fire ones in the entire deck. So, the benefit of all the Mega Monarchs is they can all be summoned by just tributing 1 tribute summoned monster, which is obviously the point of this deck. So, triple standard Caius, just banish a monster if it was dark, burn for 1k. Triple Kuraz, which is you can pop 2 cards on the field, and the player that they belong to can draw a card for each card popped. So if you pop 1 of your own and 1 of your opponents, you both draw 1. If you pop 2 of your own, you draw 2. If you pop 2 of your opponents, they draw 2. I also don't think this can attack the turn you do that, so it's really good to play this turn 1. Double Riser, which is just bounce to top of deck. Soft removal. I wanted to run 3 of these, but I don't own 3 in that rarity, so. Mithra is one of the ones that I sort of put in and take out a lot. Effectively what it is you give your opponent a token and you get to special summon this. That's all there really is, it's just tribute fodder. That's all it really does, I think. It's got a lot of text. This is distributed for a tribute summon. You contribute summon one monster. Okay, so yeah, if you use that to summon Kuraz, then you can also tribute the Kuraz immediately into Ether or any other Mega Monarch, basically, because it gives you one additional tribute summon. That I'm not entirely sure if it stacks with other ones or not. Triple Idea. Idea summons Eidos from deck on summon, or basically any other of the vassals, but generally you go straight for Eidos because it's the useful one. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a banished monarch spell or trap and put it back in your hand. 100% of the time you want that to be Pantheism. You want to put Pantheism in the grave very early because you draw the cards. You banish it for its own effect to search for any other card. Generally go for Tenacity because then you can deck thin by an extra card. And then get it back with Idea, and then you can continue. The ditch to draw to isn't once per turn, the search is. Eidos is more of a graveyard based one, but it also gives you an additional tribute summon on that same turn. You can banish it and then target a monster with 800 attack, 1k in the graveyard, except itself, special summon in defense. So generally you want to do Idea if it's still quite early, because you'll get that Idea will summon another Eidos from deck and you can continue doing stuff. 2 Photon Thrashers. Photon Thrasher because it's a special summon if you control no monsters. It's just easy basically. Again, that's one of those cards that if I didn't have a choice, I'd take it out because it's not super good. Blackwing Zephyros the Elite, which is you can bounce a face-up card to special summon it from the grave and take 400 damage. You can only do that once per duel. Of course, then we get to Domain. Lock off your opponent's extra attack if you control a tribute summoned monster. If a tribute summoned monster attacks, it gains 1k, against 800 during the damage step, I think it is. If a tribute summoned monster you control attacks, yeah, it's just any tribute summoned monster. It gains 800. Once per turn you can reduce the level of a monster with 28 or with Mega Monarch stats in your hand by 2. So yeah, you've got plenty of stuff, but the main reason it's in here is lock down your opponent's extra attack and gain some attack points. You've got Pantheism. Discard a Monarch spell or trap to draw 2. When it's in the grave, you can banish it to reveal 3, I think it is. Yeah, reveal 3, your opponent chooses 1 to add to your hand and you shuffle the rest back into the deck. And it banishes for that, and then you get it back off Idea. That's basically what that does. Tenacity, reveal a Monarch to search a Monarch spell or trap. It's very similar to like Red Eye's Insight, except for Monarchs. Stormforth, tribute, use your opponent's monster as tribute to special summon, to tribute summon. 1 for 1, discard any monster to get into Idea from deck. Generally you'll discard Photon, Thrasher or Zephyros because they're like Thrasher is effectively cannon fodder anyway, and Zephyros comes back. Prime Monarch, you can spell speed 2, banish a Monarch spell or trap to special summon this to your field. Generally you'll use this as a trap monster more than for its actual effect, which is that you can put 2 Monarch spell or traps in your graveyard back into your deck and draw 1, which is again at spell speed 2, so you can do that during your opponent's turn. And yeah, but generally you'll use it for the one where you banish a Monarch spell or trap to special summon it as a monster in defense, generally as a defensive thing, or you can do it during your turn for offense in order to use it as material for a tribute summon. And then Monarchs Are Up, which is a one-sided skill drain for anything that isn't a tribute summoned monster. Problem with this, and it's kind of a big problem, is it turns off Idea. It turns off a lot of your own cards, so you've got to minimise what can be affected by that. So like, if you summon Idea with that out, it's not a tribute summoned monster, so it doesn't do anything. Yeah, but if it's if there's no tribute summon monster at the end of a turn, it gets destroyed. Right, so that's Monarchs that way. Let's do Starry Night. Starry Night is one of the newer decks I've built. I kind of really like it, and you can already see why. Diablosis is here, plus I've got Bahalutias. There's a good reason for this. This combo is actually not as disruptive as I thought it was, but it is fucking annoying, as I found out, because I played against some people with it. So we're starting with 2 Chaos Dragon Levianeers. Obviously everything in the deck is light, but that's fine because when you banish 3 lights to summon it, it's a monster-y one for a light monster. So, you know. Bahalutia. Oh boy. Okay, I want to get these in high rarity because these are the horrible rare versions. So you contribute it by tributing an effect monster. During your opponent's main phase, if a card is added from their main deck to their hand, and this card is in your hand, you can immediately tribute summon this card. If it's normal or special summoned from the hand, you can make your opponent banish the top cards of the deck face down. Equal to number of cards in the hand, then they shuffle their entire hand into the deck, and then their banished pile become, like the cards they banish become their new hand. Now this is really good because a lot of the stuff in this deck revolves around being able to special summon level 7 light dragon monsters, like repeatedly, or bouncing them back to hand, so you can do this multiple times per turn. Now, obviously not its actual effect, but you can summon it, and then generally you'll be able to bounce it back to hand, you'll be able to summon it again next turn. Now, in combination with Diablosis, say you're going like first turn, they got 5 cards in hand, you Bahalutia them, they banish 5 cards off the top of their deck. Because of Diablosis, they banish another 5. They only get 5 cards, then they shuffle their hand into their deck, and 5 of those cards that they banished, the 5 that they pulled off the top of their deck, go to their hand, but the other 5 stay banished face down. So that's the combo. That's the combo that I built this deck to facilitate. It doesn't work that well yet. There's probably a way to turbo it so it can be done more consistently, but you know, it's work in progress. The mainstay of the deck, Starry Night, Starry Dragon. Again, level 7 Light Dragon, etc. Usually I think I've actually got CRUs in here, haven't I? Yeah, I've got CRU, so it's fine. They're not the prismatic secrets from like WC4 or whatever, but they're good enough. Starry Night, Starry Dragon cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects from dark monsters, but also when it's summoned you can pop a card, and it's got a Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon effect, kind of, in that if it attacks, you can banish that monster, and then this can make a second attack. So yeah, and it doesn't specify that the second attack has to be against a monster. So you could, like, say they've got one big monster on the field, you can attack that, it gets banished until the end phase, and you're free to attack them in the face of 25 plus whatever other monsters you got on board. So then we go on to the standard Starry Night monsters, and I'm just running 3 of each right now because I haven't worked out the proper ratios for which of the Starry Night cards are good and which ones are not. So we start with Rael, which is when it's normal summoned you can add a Starry Night spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Banish from your graveyard and target Starry Night in your graveyard and special summon it, so you can summon the dragon back. So yeah, that's the biggest one. It adds generally it will either add Balefire or the field spell. The field spell is whenever a dragon is bounced back to your hand, you draw one. But yeah, generally you'll be looking for Balefire because it's the one that search. It's like a medallion for this deck. Then we got CL, which is, if it's in your hand you can return a Starry Night monster or a level 7 Light Dragon you control to the hand to special summon this from your hand. If you control no monsters you can banish this from your grave, special summon a level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. You can only use each effect once per turn, so you can bounce like Bahalutia back to hand, special summon CL, put it in the grave, exceed summon, link summon, whatever with it, banish it to immediately re-summon Bahalutia. Or Starry Night, Starry Dragon if you I believe the pop effect isn't once per turn on this. Oh, once per turn, nope, hold on. Yeah, so the pop effect on Starry Night, Starry Dragon is not once per turn. So you could easily special summon Starry Night, Starry Dragon, bounce it back to hand with CL, put CL in the grave, then, hey Riera, how's it going? There's no way this is the first time you've ever chatted. Surely that can't be right. Just woke up? Oh, nice. Let me, hold on. 1, 2, that's Jacques. Yeah. I put up a poll on Twitter earlier to see if people wanted to see my IRL decks. And oh god, it's doing this again. Hold on. Let me turn that off. It's still playing even though it shouldn't be. I don't know why it's playing the audio for it. Yeah, it's IRL Yu-Gi-Oh decks. So we can hear you, but we can't see it. Because shout-out videos are broken for some reason. It's okay, I've got to reintegrate it. So far we've done this many decks. Oh. And we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11 to go. We're on Starry Night at the moment, which is one of the more recent decks I've built. And it's, yes, the red card protectors. Oh yes. These are Dragon Shield sleeves. They're probably some of the nicest. Sleeves I've ever bought. We used to get Ultra Pros and then Eclipse, which I think only one deck is in. Which are, hold on, I think most of my extract. No, I don't have one to hand. No, seriously, I don't have one to hand. My collection folder will have one. Yeah, we used to buy Eclipse sleeves, but they're less easy to come across nowadays. They're like matte sleeves, and nowadays I just use these for my folder. So, but yeah, Dragon Shields are the way to go. They're tough as nails. They're like £4 a pack, and generally on eBay, like you'll find somebody selling like three packs of 60 for a tenner, which is really good value. I hope you're having a good day. I've seen that you've been doing your a subathon of. How's that going? Actually, I'm gonna have a quick drink. This ring light is really heating up the room. The next card in the profile is Flamel, which is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send this card from your hand or face up field to the grave to special summon a level 7 light dragon monster from your hand, which again will trigger Starry Night, Starry Dragon. Quick effect, you can banish it from your graveyard and target a level 7 light dragon you control or in your graveyard and bounce it back to your hand. So you've got plenty. This is another one of the ways you can put Starry Night, Starry Dragon or Bahalooya back in your hand for more shenanigans. And then we have Astel, which is you can target a light monster, tribute it, and if you do, special summon a level 7 light dragon monster from your hand. You can banish this from your graveyard and target a level 7 light dragon you control that gains 1k until the end of your opponent's turn. So that's, the attack gain is less useful realistically. It's the ability to special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand that is going to make the difference with that. And then finally for the Starry Nights we've got Orbitail, which is you can target a light monster you control, tribute it, and if you do, set a Starry Night spell or trap directly from your deck. They don't have any quick play spells, I don't believe, so this is kind of less good, but you can set either of the traps from your deck, which is kind of useful, but it depends on the position you're in, like game state wise. If a face-up level 7 light dragon monster you control returns to the hand while this is in your graveyard, you can special summon this. So once it hits, once you return Starry Night, Starry Dragon or Bahalooya to your hand, you get to special summon this from your grave, which 50-50 is good, but it's a quick effect, so you can do it during your opponent's turn. Like, so you've got a 2100 defense monster in the way of them beating your face in. And then finally, well actually we've only got one more monster after this, and it's the most obvious thing in the entire game if you know anything about light decks. But first of all we've got Ciario, which is just a level 7 light dragon. Real simple, it's not the secret rare, it's just an ultra rare, but it's still a very pretty dragon. And then finally, of course, it's an exclusively light deck. Of course you must run Honest. When it battles with an opponent's monster, your monster gains the attack of the monster it's attacking. Nice and simple. Honest is really, really good. And the funny part about it is when I was testing Honest against people, they were like, "Oh, I don't want to attack that because you might have Honest." And like most of the game, I didn't actually have it, but there's always that sort of Honest is always sort of a threat. So we have the field spell, Starry Night Sky. During your main phase, you can almost summon one Starry Night in addition to your normal summon or set, or a level 7 Light Dragon monster. But also, when a level 7 Light Dragon monster returns to your hand, you can draw one card. So when you get a dragon, you also add a card, like basically also +1, which is really, really powerful. Because that can happen ridiculous amounts of times per turn. Starry Night Ceremony. During your main phase, you can reveal a Light Fairy in your hand, which is all of the Starry Nights or just Honest, and add a level 7 Light Dragon from your deck to your hand. Then place that revealed monster on the bottom of your deck. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a Light Dragon monster from your hand. So, again, Starry Night, Starry Dragon, Bahalutia. Either of those. Like, if you can get to Diablosis really quickly, then Bahalutia is going to be your best friend for the entire game. If you can't, then Starry Night, Starry Dragon is just going to pulverize your opponent for most of the game. And it's even worse if they're running exclusively Dark, which is, besides, I think, Earth, the most commonly run deck. Next up is Balefire, which is, as I said earlier, basically the Ice Barrier Medallion. It searches any Starry Night monster or any level 7 Light Dragon. Then if you control no monsters and your opponent controls any Dark monster, so if they've got a board of 5 monsters and even one of them is Dark, you can special summon a level 7 Light Dragon monster from your hand. So, obviously, Bahalutia, or, like, generally, if I was going to pull anything out of this, it would probably be Ciario, because it doesn't really do anything, it's just a level 7 Light Dragon, and even then you've got Starry Night, Starry Dragons and Bahalutias, which do that job just as well, if not better. And of course Rhoda, because all of... oh wait, hold on, are the Starry Knights fairies or warriors? They're fairies, so there's no reason to be running Rota. Cool. That got thinned out by one card. Wait, like, the joke about Yu-Gi-Oh! Players not being able to read is real. And I just dropped the rest of those on the floor. Right, so then we move on to the traps, which is Starry Night Arrival. Once per turn, you can either bounce a level 7 Light Dragon back to hand, or special summon one from your hand. Real easy. Unfortunately, I think you can only use one effect regardless of how many of these you've got, but if you've got 2, of course you can Starry Night, Starry Dragon, bounce, special summon. And of course if you've got the field spell up, bounce, draw 1, special summon. I don't know if you've got all 3, if that's can stack, or if it is just straight up like hard once per turn or not. And then Blast, which is if your opponent activates a card or effect, return a level 7 Light Dragon you control to the hand, then you can negate that and destroy it. So it's kind of like a Veiler or, you know, something like that, but it also bounces a level 7 Light Dragon. That's the cost of it, but realistically, when you'll get +1 and you can also usually special summon it again very quickly, you know. So for the extra deck, again, we're mostly using random stuff. I think this is probably the worst of the extra decks, except for the main stuff that I'm using. Just because I run out of stuff, and I only really knew one strategy I had for the deck, and that is to use Diablosis as a Mind Hacker. This card is hilarious. So whenever a card is banished face down by your opponent, they also have to banish cards off the top of their deck face down equal to the number of cards they've got banished face down already. Only one time that I've ever had this in play has somebody played Desires and had to banish 20 cards off the top of their deck face down that they can't get back for the cost of them being able to draw 2 cards. Let's just say it was worth it. It was a good deal. On top of that, it also has an ability you can take off one of its materials and you can look at your opponent's extra deck, like specifically look at their extra deck and banish 1 card from it face down, and of course this other effect will kick in optionally, and they have to banish 1 card. It just adds 1 to the number of cards they have to banish off the top of their deck face down each time. Then we've got Volo Furnigers, which is a card I've never read. It's a rank 7 and I didn't have like Big Eye or Draco Sack spare. So once per turn you can detach 2 materials, then target a face up card on the field and destroy it. If you destroy the monster, you can make one face-up monster you control gain its attack until the end of the, equal to its rank or level by 300 until the end of the next turn. It cannot attack if you activate its effect, and it's a quick effect if it has a dragon monster as material, which it will because the only level 7s in this deck are dragons. Generally, I don't like the idea of this card. It's just because it was a decent rank 7, effectively. Because obviously you don't want your Starry Night, you don't want Bahalut or Starry Dragon in the grave. But it's a work in progress. Got Dark Rebellion, which is detach all its materials, then target a face-up monster your opponent controls. They lose half their attack of their monster and this gains it. So it will always do like 1.5 times their monster's damage to themselves, which is hilarious. It's probably one of the only really useful cards I've actually got in this extra deck besides Diablosis. The other one is Augusto Emerald. This card was, I think this was actually banned for a very long time. You can either target 3 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 3 into the deck and draw one, or you can target a non-effect monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So you can use this to summon Ciario, although obviously that's going to be very rare. Alternatively, if you've summoned Volopharnagers out of desperation, or your opponent just banishing all your copies of Diablosis, you can put them back into your deck and draw 1 card. So there's a little bit of recovery there. A card that even I haven't seen playing in a long time, Silent Honor Arc. Detach 2 materials, choose one of your opponent's monsters, and then put it under this as material. You can also detach one if it would be destroyed by battle card effect. Double Tornado Dragon, which is a Twin Twister, but by taking off material instead. So Twin Twister is obviously up to 2 back row. Castel, which is you can either detach 1 material and Book of Moon your opponent's monster, or you can detach 2 and shuffle 1 of their cards back in their deck. This is actually not terrible. I'll say that much. Out of the rank 4s that I'm using, it's probably one of the least terrible. That's generic. And Abyss Dweller to shut off graveyard effects. Obviously that's not very good in a deck where I also need some graveyard effects, but it could be worse. Most of the work on this deck needs on thinning out, working out what ratios of Starry Nights I need to be running, because running just 3 of all of them obviously isn't really that good. I think this deck is quite a lot heavier than it should be. Some things can definitely come out, CRUs can definitely go. And obviously I've already thinned it by 1 card by no longer running Rota because there are no warriors in this deck. Okay, let's move to... let's go to Agents. This is actually one of my... this is a deck that I didn't expect to like at all. I'll be completely honest. I picked this all off Big Orbit for, I think it was like £4 total, because all okay, well, that was annoying. My internet cut out for a heartbeat, and I don't know why that happened, but it did, and it's just annoying. So, anyway, back to the point. Agents are like an old-fashioned fairy deck from ages ago that I sort of picked up, and I didn't even know how much I was going to like it. But to be honest, I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I imagined, because they have some really stupid... they have one specific really annoying combo that also you can't really do if you're playing the deck properly, because you cancel yourself out of it because of their own field spell. It is in order, which is good. So I've got my 40th card, which is just Triacerarchia, because it's a light fairy. You can contribute up to 3 fairies, special summon it, and then if you do 2 you can destroy cards your opponent controls. If you do 3 you can draw 2 cards, and it's just a big body to put on the board. It's also level 9, which is kind of weird, but I suppose you can run it in like generators or something. I don't know, something that requires level 9s. Majesty Hyperion is the new version of Master Hyperion, and you can special summon it by banishing an agent monster from your hand, field or graveyard. You can only summon it once per turn that way. Any battle damage you take from battles involving your fairies is also inflicted to your opponent. Once per turn you can banish a fairy, then target on a card in either graveyard and banish it. If the Sanctuary in the Sky is on a field, you can use this twice. Now, the combo that I originally thought was really cool with this was obviously summon this, get your Shine Ball off Venus, attack your opponent with it because these are very small fairy monsters, and then they take all the damage. While you got Sanctuary in the Sky, so you take no damage. Problem is if you got Sanctuary in the Sky, you can't take damage, and therefore neither can your opponent. So in order to play Majesty Hyperion, you have to pop your own Sanctuary in the Sky to get the combo to work. It's worth it, like, because if you set this up properly, you can go Agent of Venus, pay 1500, get your Majesty to get your Shine Balls out, swap it into a Hyperion, attack into your opponent's monster with the Shine Balls. They take a shit ton of damage, and so do you. And then you can swap it. You can swap Venus for Agent of Destruction Venus, which is the dark counterpart to it. Get them all back, do it again, and there's a good chance you can actually win off that, assuming you haven't paid more life points than your opponent does lost before you do that. And so far I haven't found a way to make that work, because you're paying 1500 to summon the 3 from the deck, plus you're paying another 1500 to get them back from being in the graveyard or banished. And the only way to mitigate that is with Sanctuary in the Sky, which makes Hyperion itself pointless. So it's sort of it's a very specific setup, but if it works then it's cool, but usually it won't, and you just have to work out another way to play it. Master Hyperion originally came in Lost Sanctuary structure deck, also in Ultra, and it's just you can banish an agent monster from your hand, field, graveyard to special summon it, and you can banish a light fairy and target a card on the field, destroy it, and if Sanctuary in the Sky is face up, you can do it twice. There are a few additional spells and traps in the deck that count as Sanctuary in the Sky, and there's a card I had to specifically get for the extra deck that I didn't realise I needed, because it specifically adds Sanctuary in the Sky. We've got Agent of Entropy Uranus, which is if Sanctuary of Sky is face up on the field, you can just special summon it from your hand. You can also send an agent monster from your deck to a graveyard. If you do, its level becomes the level of that monster. Generally, the best case scenario is that you keep this as a level 5 though, because a lot of the Master Flare is already level 10, and Pluto is a level 5, so you can use it for a bunch of different things, but it really depends on how you set up the specific level for it. But having a free level 5 special summon that's also a tuner is really, really good. Agent of Destruction Venus is the opposite to Agent of Creation Venus. So you can banish the standard version from the graveyard to special summon it from your hand. Then you can pay life points in multiples of 500. For every 500 paid, target a mystical Shine Ball that's banished or in your graveyard and special summon them. Place them on the bottom of the deck when they leave the field. So obviously it's just you replace this immediately with this and get back your Shine Balls that you banished. Like, you can use them for link climbing and stuff like that. It's part of that ridiculous combo that I mentioned, but the problem is making that combo work is a pain in the arse. Agent of Creation Venus is the original one. You pay 500 to summon them from hand or deck instead of graveyard or banished. Agent of Mystery Earth, which we're only running 2 of for some reason. I guess I must have run out of space or something, because I do have 3 of them. Is when it's normal summoned, you can add an agent monster from your deck to your hand, except itself. And if Sanctuary of the Sky is on the board, you can play Master Hyperion instead. Actually, I think I know why I'm only running this 2, because it's specific to normal summon. Like, the rest of the things I run, it doesn't matter if you normal or special summon them, this is specific to normal summoning. And even then, its search effect isn't really that good. Agent of Life Neptune, this is another one of those cards that has just loads of text for very little. So you can discard its special summon an agent from hand or graveyard, except itself. Neither player contribute a monster special summon with its effect until the opponent's turn, which is pointless because they can just kaiju you. Like, but who's going to kaiju an agent monster that you special? Who's going to kaiju an agent monster? Like, it's kind of like a waste of that. Also, I suppose you can get around your opponent. I'm trying to think of. I suppose if you summon If Sanctuary in the Sky is in, you can special summon a Hyperion monster instead, which includes this. So if you get the fusion, the Synchro back by summoning using Neptune, then they can't Nibiru it. But I think that's pretty much the only fringe scenario where that's useful at all. If this card is banished, you can add a Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. That's basically all it does. The middle effect is so questionable. It's like one of those extremely specific scenarios that will probably never happen. Like, honestly, if you're playing agents at even local level, you're going to see Nibiru. And, you know, if you don't already have a negate up for that, then questionable. But at the same time, the best target for it is going to be Master Flare. And if you have to summon it in a way where your opponent can't tribute it, then you're probably already losing that game. It's not bad for a level 1 though, I'll say that much. It's got a lot of good effects for a level 1 monster. And of course you've got shiny balls. Let's do shiny balls. It's not as bad as trying to find copies of Moki Moki, which would... My options when I was building basically a level 2 fairy deck was I was either going to build agents or I was going to build Moki Moki. And Moki Mokis are like £4 a copy at minimum for commons. They never came in any higher rarity. They've only ever been commons, and the minimum now is like £4. The average price for a Moki Moki, which is an Ancient Sanctuary common, is like a tenner for a common. So we've got Sanctuary in the Sky, which is any battle damage. Oh, yeah, any battle damage a fairy monster that involves a fairy monster is reduced to 0. I would be running Ornist in here, but half my monsters are dark, so I can't do that. But reducing battle damage is always good. You can also do it with like Spirit Barrier, but that's barely useful. Terraforming to search it, because why not? Sanctum of Parshath is a card that treats itself as a Sanctuary in the Sky, and all fairies gain 300 attack and defense. Set spells and traps can't be destroyed by card effects, and neither player can target one card effect. Once per turn, you can target 3 fairies and or counter traps in your graveyard. Put them on top of your deck in any order. So you can just... this was the same... what structure deck was this? This was a counter fairy structure deck, so it might have been the same as the agent structure deck. I'm trying to remember now because it's a Parshath thing. But yeah, it's just a useful card. It counts itself as Sanctuary in the Sky, so if you don't draw directly... Like, I think 3, 2, so that's 5. I think there are 11 cards that count themselves as a Sanctuary in the Sky in this deck. Because you really need it to get all your secondary and tertiary effects off. The Sacred Waters in the Sky. Activate a Sanctuary in the Sky directly from your deck, or add a monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard, you gain 500 life points for each Hyperion and Agent monster you control. So that's a maximum of 3k additional life points if you're lucky. If you're not, then you know, minimum like 500. If your monster that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this from your graveyard instead, which is pretty good. It's another Return of the Dragon Lord's effect. I'm finding a lot of archetypes that really have that nowadays. It's not like super powerful, but it can be sort of useful. So, but the main important thing is that it activates Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck. Then you've got Chorus in the Sky, which is pay 1,000 life points, target a fairy in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Then if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can add one of your banished Sanctuary in the Sky or one of your banished card that mentioned it to your hand. You can only activate one of these per turn. So you're paying 1,000 life points to get a monster back from your graveyard. Also, if you have Sanctuary in the Sky, which again there are a lot of cards that treat themselves as such, you can also add one that's banished from, or a card that mentions it, from banished to your hand as well. So you're paying 1,000 to recover 2, which sounds bad, but to be fair, you know, the only real difference in life points is between 1 and 0. I don't know. Celestial Transformation. This is just special summon a fairy from your hand. Its attack is halved and is destroyed during the end phase, but that barely matters because it doesn't negate their effects. This card was designed a long time ago, before like the idea of needing to worry about, you know, effects being negated. It comes in handy in a lot of different situations. And Forged Burial Goods, this is so you can put like a copy of Sacred Waters in the grave, just so you get that one protection. It thins the deck by 1. Like, you could easily just run a Metal Foes Fusion as well. Then you've got 3 Divine Punishment, which is if you control Sanctuary in the Sky, this is a Solemn Judgment, basically, which is really powerful. And Fallen Sanctuary, which is the other card that treats itself as Sanctuary in the Sky. When it's activated, you can set a card, Sanctuary in the Sky, or a card that specifically mentions it from deck. And it is, you can banish a fairy monster from your graveyard and target an effect your monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. And that's it, basically. It's just another, like, I never use the secondary effect. The only thing that really matters about it is that it's treated as Sanctuary in the Sky. So, you know, like, worst case scenario, you could just remove it. Actually, speaking of Divine Punishment, it actually reminds me there's a card that I need to be considering for the Starry Night, which is Champion's Vigilance, which is a Solemn Judgment if you control a vanilla level 7 or higher dragon monster. For the extra deck, we're still looking kind of at, you know, like, weird territory of random crap that just works-ish. So we start with Master Flare Hyperion, which is the new boss monster of the archetype, which is you can send an agent monster or a monster that mentions Sanctuary in the Sky from your hand deck or extra deck to the graveyard until the end phase. This card's name becomes that card's original name and regains its effects until the end phase. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can banish a fairy to target one card in the field and banish it. You can only use each effect once per turn. So it's got a lot of really good built-in effects. You can send any agent, so generally the one you'll be sending is Venus. It gains its name and the effect to pay 1500, get 3 Shine Balls from your deck, which you can then use for link summoning. You can also send another copy of itself if you're feeling particularly bastardish, or if you just want to put another Hyperion in your graveyard that you can't do anything with. I don't know. But the banish effect is really powerful on that. Even if it's targeting, it's banish, not destroy. So it's really... it does a lot of things. A bit scary. So we've got Executor of the Underworld Pluto, that's always treated as an agent card. Once per turn you can banish a monster from your graveyard and target an effect monster on the field and chain and book it. Book it in this case being Book a Moon. Face down defense. This is a quick effect if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, so you can do that during your opponent's turn, like they summon something. The only thing you never want to do this to is Fallen of Albaz, as I learnt the hard way, because Fallen of Albaz can still be used as fusion material even if it's in Book of Moon position. Oh, it doesn't even matter if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in either graveyard. So even if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the graveyard, that's still a quick effect. That's fucking crazy. You can banish this card from your graveyard as Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can only use that effect once per turn. Basically, it's just a level 5 that's also a tuner synchro, which is pretty useful because it can help you get into Master Flare or any big. You can probably run a lot of big synchros in this and they'll work. Trishula, because you can do it. A lot of these are just because you can, and then Black Rose Dragon is the last synchro, mainly because you can. Also, the Field Nuke is really, really useful sometimes. These are the two that I had to go out and get specifically, because I needed a way, besides terraforming, to add very specifically the Sanctuary in the Sky. And this is probably one of the best ways in the entire game to do it, even if it's on Link 3. You can discard one card and add a Sanctuary in the Sky or a card that specifically mentions it from your deck to your hand. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can add any fairy monster instead. If another face-up fairy you control is sent to the graveyard, you can banish a fairy from your graveyard, special summon a fairy from your hand whose level is higher than that banished monster. So it does search your field spell at the cost of drop searching. It drop searches your field spell for the cost of 1 discard. And also, if a fairy is destroyed by battle, so if you lose a mystical shine ball, you can replace it with literally any fairy from your hand, which is crazy. But also, I really like the artwork on that card. I've always quite liked all the Parshath cards. It's just a shame there aren't really enough of them to make a proper deck out of. Then we've got Protector of the Agent's Moon. This is only really in here because it is an agent, and it's also linked to. Honestly, like with Herald of Mirage Lights, I was going to do the Heralds, but then it would become a Herald deck instead, and that's not. I mean, it's probably more competitively viable, but at the cost of fun. So if it's link summoned, you can send a Sanctuary in the Sky or a card that mentions it from your deck to the graveyard. Or if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can add an Agent of Mystery Earth from your deck to the hand instead. You can tribute a fairy, then target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. That's kind of weak. It's really, really bad, basically. There is exclusively one scenario where this is really good, and that's if you're holding the Agent of Destruction Venus, and then you can send the Agent of Creation Venus from your deck to the grave. That's basically all it's good for. But also, if you've got a Majesty Hyperion in hand, there's an argument that could be made that means it might be good, but you have to get to a Link 2 to do it. If I'm honest, I could easily replace the Foolish Burial Goods, which I think is actually in here, with a standard Foolish Burial and achieve the same result, and you don't need a Link 2 to do it. But also it's an agent, so it's a named card. And then Herald of Mirage Lights, which is 2 monsters of the same type and attribute that aren't tokens, so obviously this will be 2 light fairies. When a spell or trap or effect is activated, you can send a fairy monster from your hand to negate the activation and destroy it. If it's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add up to 2 ritual monsters or ritual spells with different names from your graveyard to your hand. So the first effect is pretty cool because obviously you've got a Omni negate in the Link 2, which is pretty busted. Unfortunately, it's only got 600 attack, so it's fairly weak to being attacked, which kind of validates running Honest. I'll probably get another playset of commons to do that with, just for this, because. And then you need Herald of Purple, Herald of Orange, Herald of Green, and then Ultimateness and Perfection, and all that kind of nonsense. And then it just becomes a Herald deck with some incidental agent stuff in it. But other than that, it's actually surprisingly versatile. I've found the only card that I've ever found to be a super brick is Hierarchia, but then again that's because it's level 9. But even then, the one time I did actually summon it, I did it with the 3, and I did get the 2 cards, and I actually did win the game. So I can't really complain that much. I've been doing this for nearly 2 hours. We are getting through them though, so that's good. Right, one of my more recent experimental decks. This is also a challenge deck. I was very specifically challenged to build this deck, and it's because I did the Karakuri. At first, it was because I did the Karakuri solo mission on Master Duels, and then I went to a friend and says I want to build a Karakuri deck. And they were like, well, you've already played Machina, so why not mix the 2? And I was like, I'm going to take that as a challenge. And here it is. The problem with this is that I did buy Power Tool Braver, and the entire Bamboo Sword package, which is annoying because Cursed is £10 common from Starstrike Blast. And that makes it actually worth some money as a package if I was ever going to sell it, which I probably will at some point because I'm not actually going to use it. Because originally it was going to go in this specific deck, but the problem is that when I put this deck together and actually tested it, it was like, well, I can't really find enough things to pull out to make room for the Bamboo Swords because it's good as it is. So yeah, this is purely experimental. It's in the same sort of vein as Orcus Cosmo in that it can work. I just don't expect it to do any magical things until Revolution Synchron, which comes out in Diffo. I think it's Diffo. There's a set coming out with a level 2 Synchron that is really, really good for basically being the middle point between Machina and Karakuri, because it swaps battle positions and it does stuff. So I'm going to start with the big boss monster, which is Machina Ruin Force. So the deck is split between Karakuri and Machina. I tried to keep it as 50-50 as possible, just to make the challenge deck thing quote unquote worth it. Ruin Force is you can banish up to level 12 of machines to special summon it. It has to be level 12 or more machines to summon it. And when it's destroyed by battle card effect, you can special summon up to level 12 of Machina that is banished. Which is obviously really good, and generally what you want to do is you want to banish at least one Citadel off of it, so you always get one back. But also, if your opponent activates any effect during the battle phase, this will negate it, at the cost of half both players' life points. Does it destroy it? No. So yeah, so if you're both on 8,000, your opponent tries to mirror force you attacking this. You pay 4k, your opponent loses 4k, and then probably they die. Because this already has 4,600 attack. This card is nuts. This card, like, Citadel is the reason I built a Machina deck out of the new structure decks. Like, the last time I went to a locals was just after this came out, but just before Echo, when we got Metal Cruncher. This was what cemented me playing Machinas as like a serious, like, competitive deck, because this card is so powerful on its own. It takes the theory of not Ruin Force, it was Machina Force from years ago, and basically turns it into an actually super useful card. Like, unbelievably useful. This card is so broken. Like, if you've ever played anything against this card, like, without it being interrupted, of course, like Called by the Grave, getting bounced back in by Flying Sting and all that shit, this card is insane on its own. It can win games on its own. Okay, Citadel. This came out in a structure deck, like I was just saying, in the last locals I went to. Fucking hell, how do I even explain this card? It's so good. So it can't be normal or special summoned except by the effect of a Machina card. It's got a quick effect that you can blow up an Earth machine you control, and then it nukes your opponent's entire board, monsters, of anything with attack lower than that board. So if you blow itself up, which you can do, it will destroy anything they've got with less than 3k attack. And also, if an Earth machine is destroyed by battle or card effect while this one in the grave, you special summon this. It can only use each of those effects once per turn, so it can only nuke once and reborn once. But if you tactically time these, you can basically have a constant loop of Citadel. Like, because you have it on your turn, you blow up their entire board, the other one comes back out the grave. Then on their turn, they summon a bunch of things, you blow it up, you get the other one out of your grave. Obviously, it gets broken if they blow up one, if they kill one of them while the other one's in the grave. But at the same time, like, if that's the biggest problem you're having, Machina are not really for you. Fortress, classic monster. You ditch up to level 7 to special summon it from your hand. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can pop a monster. I think it's just a card straight up. Yeah, target a card your opponent controls and blow it up. If they target it with a card effect, you get to look at their hand and selectively discard one. Also a really good level 7. And then you can't really run Fortress without running Gear Frames. I'm only running 2 because space. Gear Frame is just an on-summon search for any Machina monster. Really, really good. Also a Union, so you can equip it to, like, Gear Frame Citadel, and it protects it from being destroyed by battle card effect once. In the case of Citadel, if you equip it to this and then try and blow itself up, you will still gain the effect of Citadel, so it will still nuke 3k or less monsters, but you won't lose your Citadel, you'll just lose the Gear Frame that's equipped. It works in the same way as Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon will attempt to pop your card, and then will pop your opponent's. But even if your monster isn't destroyed because it's equipped with Gear Frame, the opponent's one will still be destroyed. And then you got double unclass, because we need to put Ruin Force in grave. And this just does that. That's all it does. It just sends Ruin Force to grave. Also, if it's added to your hand by a card effect, you get to free special summon it. So, usually what you'll try and do is redeploy into it. You always redeploy into it as your second choice, as your second card. And then immediately summon it, immediately send Ruin Force. And usually you're set for game after that, because Ruin Force will just win you that game. As long as that doesn't get ashed. Although saying that, when I play proper Machina or Master Duels, the number of people who ash or imperm or Velar Gear Frame is actually terrifying. It's like they've never played against Machina before, because that's not as threatening as this. Right, so then on to the Karakuri side of monsters until... yeah, and so there's only Karakuri monsters. So we're running 2 copies of Bonds, which is... Sorry, coughing my guts up. So Bonds is, while it's in your hand, you can target a Karakuri monster, change its battle position and special summon it. If you do that, it's treated as a tuner monster for the turn. Now all Karakuris have the same effects, where if they are in attack position they have to declare an attack, and if they are declared as an attack target they change their battle position. This one is effectively, so this one just has that additional effect of have another Karakuri on board, special changes battle position, special summon this. That comes into big handy when you get to the synchros as well, because while Beret doesn't do anything, you can special summon one from deck off it. Changing a battle position while Beret Do is on the board will give you a card draw, and while you've got Beret Boo on board, will banish a card, non-target banish a card your opponent controls. Next up we have Doggo. I don't think this actually has a real effect. Karakuri monsters you control gain 800 attack and defense. Okay, that's not bad. So yeah, I suppose this is more of a supporting one. Generally it doesn't stay on the board very long, because usually this is the one you'll summon from any of the synchros, because all three of the synchros have the ability to, on summon, they will summon a Karakuri monster from your deck. Usually this is the one you go for because it's the highest level. If you've got a token or a low level non-tuner, then you can go into other things as well. I didn't even know about the attack and defense buff. I'm pretty sure not even Alex knew about that, because that probably would have changed the fate of a few games we played. So then we got Ninishi, which allows you for a second normal summon of a Karakuri monster each turn. That's all that really does. This is the, if you don't go for the 4, if you don't go for Saizan, then you go for this, which is a level 3 but also a tuner. Generally this deck actually does take a lot more thought than I initially believed it did, because modulating levels to get to the synchro or the play that you need is actually a lot harder than it sounds. This is the worst card in the deck to get. Now luckily I got 2 of these from Alex. The third one I had to pay like £12 for, because it's only ever had one printing. And this is another one of those stupid arguments where there's no reason for this card to be of any value to anyone. It's just because it's only ever had one print. But on normal summon, you can search for any Karakuri card in your deck and add it to your hand. Any Karakuri card and add it to your hand. Almost always you'll go straight into Bonds, and then you'll make into Beret, use the level 7 synchro, and you'll summon another one from deck and make your place from there. It's also a machine duplication target in the same way as Ninishi is, which is great as long as you don't have Dog out. Now I know that. And then finally we've got Toad. I don't know what it actually is. It's Shiro Kunishi, but it's Toad to everybody else. It's got a quick effect that when it's in the graveyard you can banish it to change the battle position of a card on the field, which is obviously really useful because the synchros, which we'll come back to later. For spells and traps lineup, we have redeployment, so you can either discard any card to search 2 Machina monsters, or you can discard a Machina to search specifically 2 Machina cards. So that can then include the Machina specific trap, which we'll get to shortly. Generally, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. You'll either have, like, if you have a full Karakuri opening or a full Machina opening, you'll find if you have a mix, then you're probably fucked. Which is why this deck still needs a lot of work and is still very experimental. But generally, it's not that bad, as long as you can level modulate properly and, just get to the right levels when you need them. Karakuri Cash is select a Karakuri, change its battle position, then you can add a level 4 or lower Karakuri from your deck to your hand. Generally pretty good. Generally what you want to do is add Merchant or Ninishi, depending on what you're holding already. If you've got machine duplication, generally you'll go for Ninishi. If you're holding Bonds or Dog, then usually you'll go for Merchant. But it's just a good way to get a Karakuri out of your deck and into your hand if you need that one extra card. This is my favourite thing, is that I can use Transmodify and Downbeat in this, and you're going to see this again in my Machinas, is I love using these cards. So everything in here is an Earth Machine, and what these 2 cards do is they tribute a monster you control and replace it with one that's a level higher or one that's a level lower. In a deck where you need as much level modulation as you can get, these are perfect in every way. So you got say Saizan. Hold on, is this only if it's normal summoned? Yep. So you get Saizan, like you have to normal summon it out of just sheer unluckiness, or you special summon it off Beret or any of your synchros. You downbeat it into Ninashi. Congratulations, you've got a second Karakuri normal summon this turn. You normal summon Merchant because that's what you do. You search your bonds, then you get bored of having the Merchant on board, and then you transmodify it into an Ninashi, and you get a second normal summon. Or you can go down with this one's also a tuner. The only non-tuner Karakuri I run is Merchant. I really need to. It's why I need to work a lot on this as well, because stuff like Kuik, which is Ninja, is not a tuner. I need stuff that isn't tuners. But then we're floating slightly too close to pure Karakuri, which is not really that good, but it can be. But yeah, I love using transmodify and downbeat in almost everything I can find a way to run them in. When I do a Sacred Beast stack, which will be happening eventually, you can use them on Chaos Summoning Beast. I was using it for Direbound in that deck, because Direbound is hilariously fast, and that's something we'll come to when I'm doing the Bakura deck profile. But these are just fun to play around with in everything you can. Next up is Machine Duplication, because we've got monsters that have less than 500 attack. Ninashi will still only give you one additional normal summon, Merchant won't summon you anything else, won't search you anything else, and Toad will only really contribute to its benefit with its existence in the graveyard, but it puts more bodies on the field, gives you more options for getting into your synchros and such. And finally, a Foolish Burial Goods, and that's for the, I believe that's exclusively for the traps, which we're about to get to. So the first one we have is Machina Overdrive, which came in the structure deck with Citadel. So this one allows you to destroy any Earth machine. I think it's actually any machine, isn't it? Yeah, it's literally any machine you control to summon a Machina from your deck. Its graveyard effect is you can shuffle back in three machines that are in your graveyard or banished and draw one card. So it's got both effects. Obviously, Foolish Burial Goods is very good if you need to use that second effect, which you generally will. But the popping is also insane, because if you pop anything that isn't Ruin Force or Unclass, then you also get Citadel back out of the grave, which is great because then you get to go nuclear again. And then finally we've got Karakuri Cash In, which I have to read because I haven't even played this card. Like, that's the thing, is I've played like 6 games with this deck and I've never once drawn this card. So target a Karakuri you control and affect monster your opponent controls. Change the battle position of your monster and negate your opponent's monster's effect until the end of the turn. If you control a Karakuri monster, you can banish it from the graveyard, target a face-up monster on the field, change that monster's battle position. Now, battle positions are once again going to become very important once we get to Beredo and Berebo. But obviously having ways to... Like, the first effect is obviously changing your own monster's position, which is great. And negating your opponent's monster's effect is also great. But having that spell speed to effect in the graveyard to banish itself to change your monster's battle position is really, really good. Then we get onto the extra deck. So we're obviously running one of the big cannon because we run 3 level 10s. It's very rare that this will come up. I did used to run Dora and Lieb, but somebody else needed the Lieb, so I gave them the Lieb, and now I don't have one. Well, I do, but it's in actual Machina deck. So this is very rare, but it'll come up every now and again. Just burn your opponent for 2k. Simple. 2 copies of Berebu, which is the level 9 Karakuri Synchro. They all have the same. All the Karakuri Synchros have the same effect, that when they are special summoned, when they are synchro summoned, sorry, you can summon a Karakuri monster from your deck of any level, which is hilarious. Although the maximum level is like 6, and generally you don't run most of the 6s. And I think you only run Bonds as the 5. I don't think you actually run Hyper. Anyway, so yeah, generally it's just, here's an extra free body that you get for, you know, summoning a Karakuri Synchro, which is great. Monsters you control in defense position cannot be destroyed by battle, so that includes when they're changed to defense position due to being attacked. And also, once per turn, if a battle position of a face-up Karakuri monster you control is changed, except during damage step, you can target a card your opponent controls and banish it. Which is great because of cash-in, which is great because of Toad. You know, you've got the options to change the battle positions. And then on the level 8 one, which I've only got one copy of sadly, is Beredo, which is when a monster's battle position is changed, you get to draw one card. Also, special summons a Karakuri from deck on summon. Finally, for the Karakuri Synchros, we have Beret, which is level 7, which is once per turn you can target a monster on the field change battle position, which will trigger Beredo and Berebo. And also, you used to be able to make, when Alex used to use Karakuris in his Mecha Phantom Beasts, you used to use these to go into like Draco Sack, which was hilarious. Next we got Beast and Barkian, because what self-respecting Earth deck would you be running if you didn't run Beast and Barkian? Like, Beast is actually unbelievably powerful right now in the actual metagame because of Runic, like basically just shutting down their entire strategy. Barkian is less so because I don't think Labyrinth is that useful, but even then you run out of materials really quickly. Loading up your graveyard with Beast is just straight up nuts anyway, because you've got Ruin Force and you've got Citadel. And of course you've got your traps, which have during your opponent's turn effects. So they're really good. Originally I was running, actually I can't remember what the third card was, but originally I was running 2 Catastas and something else. Masashi is a super heavy samurai synchro. When it's synchro summoned you can target a machine in your graveyard and add it to your hand, but you can't use that card that turn. That's all it does really, it's just a level 5. It's actually a decent wall for a synchro. But it's generic, whereas Beast and Barkian both require an Earth Tuner and a non-tuner Earth monster, which will generally be Dog plus Merchant or Toad plus Ninashi plus Merchant. Merchant is the tuner, non-tuner. Yeah, this is why I need more non-tuners in the deck. Or Toad plus Gear Frame. Assuming Gear Frame stays on the field long enough to do that, but it can. Yeah, so basically it can also attack while it's in defense, and if it does, you can use its 2300 defense as its attack points. It's never going to be in attack position. Basically, it's only there so you can get a machine back from grave, which is useful. And of course, Catasta. This is a classic. If it attacks anything that isn't dark, destroy it at the start of the damage step. Pretty good. It's only really in there because, again, run out of targets. Machine deck that can do Gear Gigant, so of course you do Gear Gigant, which is 2 level 4s, and detach material to search a level 4 or lower machine from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You ignore the second effect because there are no good Gigas. I did check, I did try to do it, because in my Machina I wanted there to be a bonus for if it got blown up, worst case scenario. But I went for all the Gigas and there aren't any good ones. Sorry, Yuya. Just a like Link 4 basically. It's very rare that this will be made, and if you do, you're in a desperate spot. And finally, Clifford Genius, which isn't really that great in this deck in the way that I assumed it would be, but it has been very useful in others. So if 2 monsters are summoned into the zones it points to at the same time, you get to add a level 5 or higher machine monster from your deck to your hand, which will, you know, depending on circumstance, be Fortress, Citadel, or Ruin Force, or Bonds. You can do Bonds, and also you can negate 1 card you control and 1 card your opponent controls. So it's a very very selective negate. It's actually not bad, I'll say that. Like, the deck is surprisingly versatile and it works. It just needs a lot of tweaking. Right, so I'm going to do Utopia last. I'm going to actually do Earthbounds, and I'll do Utopia, and then I'll do the Bakura, and then I'll move on to the decks that are actually in deck boxes. So, Earthbound Immortals are a deck that I've been playing basically since day one, because I loved playing Monarchs when they first came out, and I haven't really ever gone without an Earthbound Immortal deck. And it's mainly because I loved it in the anime so much that I had to find a way to make it work. This is also not as far-fetched as it can probably even be imagined to be. I have taken Earthbound Immortals to local levels and actually done not bad. Like before Redox got banned, like having that sit in defense was often a good way to block your opponent out of killing you in one shot. And then it got banned, and now it's harder to search Hardened Dragon. This is a pretty heavily nerfed version of the deck, but there's a lot of stuff coming out soon that will benefit it. Also, there's no Malefics or Beast King Barbarosses in this, which is sad, because those used to be like mainstays of this deck. But the only Beast King Barbarosses I have are commons, and I don't even know where they are. And like that's important for reasons that I'll explain. So we're starting with the 3 shiniest cards I own that were actually bought for me as a Christmas present by a friend a good number of years ago, and it's Earthbound Immortal Chaku Chalua, in my opinion the best Earthbound Immortal. So Earthbound Immortals all have the effects that they can't be targeted for attacks at all, and they can attack your opponent's life points directly. They're level 10s, which means they are 2 tribute monsters, and also they require a field spell or they blow themselves up. But also, this one specifically, if it's in defense position, your opponent never gets a battle phase. Like the battle phase is just deleted. And also, if you don't attack with it, I believe, you can inflict damage equal to its half its defense to your opponent. Yeah, only if it doesn't attack. So yeah, it burns for 1200 if it doesn't attack, which generally you just put it in defense, because then your opponent doesn't get a battle phase. It's hilariously powerful. All the Earthbound Immortals are hilariously powerful, but they have a massive drawback that makes them really sad to not be able to use. But they are ultimate rares. I want to get the secret rares, but they're like American promotional cards that only came in like they're collector's tins, and they're extremely hard to find. I don't think they're actually all that expensive either, but like they're just because they're coming from America and you get additional like import costs. These are unfortunately not the original ones I used to have, but they are good enough. They're reprints. So we've got Ascator, Dawnwalker, and Supe Duskwalker. Each of these has the effect that you can discard 1 card to special summon itself and its corresponding tuner from the deck. So for this one it'd be Fire Ant Ascator, for this one it'd be Supe. And the idea of these generally is that you are able to summon Sun Dragon into your Moon Dragon Queer from your deck. But at the end of the day, they're actually only in here for tribute fodder, because discarding 1 card to get all the material you need to summon an Earthbound Immortal is pretty much one of the best things you can do. Sadly, there is no Malefic Stardust Dragon, which protects field spells. There's no Beast King Barbaros, which is a level 8 that goes down to 1900 if you normal summon it without tributes. But if it's someone with 3 tributes, like so you can do it with no tributes and it's just a vanilla 1900. You can do it with 2 and it's just a 3k vanilla, or you can do it with 3 and blow up your opponent's entire board. Which I've only done once, but it's still like cool when it does that. Hold on. And then wait, these aren't in order. Oh, it's because I was looking at, as I should explain earlier. So the next card is the one that bothers me most, because I've talked to a lot of people about Earthbound Immortal decks. Like usually, like I'll drop into Master Duel streams, like random Master Duel streams, see what they're doing, see what decks they're playing, etc., etc., so forth. There's also the Shizu Challenge, which is usually if somebody is playing Master Duels, I will issue the Shizu Challenge, where I will challenge them to a best of 3. And if I win, then they have to follow me on Twitter and Twitch. And if I lose, then I have to subscribe to them and gift a sub in their community. So far, I haven't lost one yet, and generally I end up subscribing to them anyway, because like I haven't met anybody who plays Master Duels who is actually a bad person. Like I'm not saying bad person as in like, you know, moral ground or whatever, but like they're all really good people. And a lot of them are small streamers as well, and they really deserve that support. And, you know, like, willing to sort of humour me, basically. Just like Joe Random comes into the chat and, you know, offers a challenge that has that kind of reward. And, yeah, I mean, usually I'll do that. And, like, a couple of them have become really good friends. So, but Hard Gnome Dragon is the reason that Beast King Barbaros and Malefic Stardust not being in here is sad. Because you can send a level 8 or higher monster from your hand to special summon it. If you use this card as a tribute material for a level 7 or higher monster, that monster cannot be destroyed by card effects. Now, the reason this is so important for Earthbound Immortal decks is because Earthbound Immortals themselves blow themselves up by their own effect if there's no field spell in play. If you summon one using Hardened Armed Dragon as one of the tributes, even if the field spell goes away, the Earthbound Immortal does not self-destruct because it's protected by that. It doesn't protect it from being targeted, but when you've got a monster that cannot be attacked by your opponent, can attack them directly, and in this case that's 2900 damage directly to the face, and can't be destroyed by card effects, so they can't, I don't know, Sakuretsu army you know, that's pretty deadly. Like, you're basically removing the Earthbound Immortal's main weakness, and this is exactly the reason that I've been able to play Earthbound Immortals at local level, because this card protects them from so many really basic things that your opponent, like, it's like when we get into Utopia in a second, there's a card in it called Astral Karibo, and it's clear that nobody's ever read that card, because the effect that it also adds to your Utopia monster, basically Utopia monster, whatever it was used for, is so much more useful than people have ever read. And I can bet good money that not enough people have read this card to know that how much it actually benefits anything it's used in. You could use it in a Monarch deck, but to be fair, when you're using it in like distribute fodder for basically 3k untouchable fucksticks that your opponent can't do much about, like, why would you not use that? Especially when it mitigates the Earthbound Immortals' biggest weakness. There is going to be a seriously in-depth video about Earthbound Immortals, because before I became a VTuber, I was going to do an Earthbound Immortal 101, because I am basically the resident expert on stupid decks, but Earthbound Immortals are sort of one of my pets. Like, they're my pet deck. They're the deck that I play even though they're stupid and they don't work. Like, I will keep playing them regardless. And, like, basically I've done almost every variant of the deck you can possibly imagine. And as a result, it's, you know, when like stuff like new Earthbound Immortal stuff comes out, it's like, okay, well, we know Shizu's played Earthbound Immortals. Let's get an idea of what we need to be doing with the new support stuff, and it's going to be cool. But that's sort of what I do. You know, I just find more and more stupid creative ways to break Earthbound Immortals, and Hardened Armed Dragon is basically the centre of the deck. If you're running an Earthbound Immortal deck and you're not running Hardened Armed Dragon, you're doing it wrong. And you play it as a playset. Even if you're running only one Earthbound Immortal, Hardened Armed Dragon needs to be the core of your deck. You need to be basing the the stuff you get rid of to summon it, to special summon it, off of the fact that you're running Hardened Armed Dragon. That's why Beast King Barbaros and the Malefics are really, really useful. Also, recently in the Egyptian God decks, we got Reactor Slime, which is something that is actually really, this variant of it is technically a new variant. So a lot of this is still in testing, but is interesting. This is a variant using a lot of stuff from the Egyptian God decks and the reprints in Legendary Duelists. So during your main phase, you can special summon 2 slime tokens. Also, you cannot normal special summon for the rest of the turn except Divine Beast monsters. During the battle phase, you can tribute this card, set a Metal Reflect Slime from your deck or graveyard. It can be activated this turn. Metal Reflect Slime is a trap monster with 0 attack and 3k defense. This is also the reason I used to run Egyptian God Slime until I had to sell the copy I had, because it was £50 at the time and I needed the money. Now, the fact that it locks you out of summoning anything that isn't a Divine Beast monster doesn't really matter, because that's why we run Thunder Speed Summon, which allows you to tribute summon a level 10 monster during your opponent's turn. But we'll come to that. So yeah, generally what you do is if you're having a crap turn, and which is most likely going to be the case quite early on, then you just drop this, you set Thunder Speed Summon, pass turn, Earthbound. Okay, so Fire Ant Escator and Supe are kind of only really in here because of Dusk and Dawnwalker. I don't run Oracle of the Sun. They do have other effects, but they basically don't matter, so we're just going to ignore they exist. What we're not going to ignore exist is Weeping Idols, which is just banish a tuner monster in your graveyard to special summon this level 2 rock from your hand. Now, the annoying thing about this is, just before the reprints of the Escator and Supe stuff, I actually had a playset of these and I traded them away the day before that I got all of that stuff, and then I had to go out and buy another playset of this. It was like £3, but it was just annoying that I had to do that. It's really useful just to get that extra body on the board, especially if you've already used up your tuners. The final card that's a monster that I'm trying out is Angelo 1. I need to cough again. It's probably from that flat fucking coke. It's Angelo 1. So you can special summon this from your hand by revealing a level 7 or higher monster in your hand. You can only special summon Angelo 1 once per turn this way. While you control this special summon card, you can tribute summon a level 7 or higher monster in an attack position during your main phase, in addition to your normal summon or set. So it's basically very similar to Eidos and Mithra, which are in the Monarch deck, in the way that it gives you an extra tribute summon, and obviously that's something you kind of need. Like I was saying before, I used to run Gizmek Yatta in both this and Monarchs, because it also gives you 20-50 life points, which is a really weird amount, but it gives you that extra summon. But this is a trial run of this version of the deck, and it's not been that good so far, so I'll get around to it. Mausoleum of the Emperor. This is the first field spell I ever used with Earthbound Immortals, and it is literally just pay 2,000 to summon Earthbound Immortal. What it really does is you pay 1,000 per tribute normally required to summon level 5 or higher monster. Earthbound Immortals cost 2,000 to summon. It's worth it since generally you trade that damage immediately into their face. If I pay 2,000 to summon Chaku, then I'm paying 2,000 to immediately deal 2,900, which, you know, is fair game basically. Then we have the aforementioned Thunder Speed summon. During the main phase or battle phase of your opponent's turn, well, it's during other player's turn, but it's quick effect, so you're doing it during your opponent's turn. You can normal summon a level 10 or higher monster, and it's got an additional effect with Kings, Queens, Jacks, Knight, but it's in there for Earthbound Immortals. But also, if you do control those three, you can add a level 10 non-dark monster with question mark attack and defense, which is meant for, I think, Royal Straight Slasher. But I don't run that because this is an Earthbound Immortal deck. Monarch Stormforth, same reason as in Monarchs. Tribute one of your opponent's monsters, fine. Best used with Hardened Armed Dragon, because obviously you're going to use some resources to special summon Hardened Armed Dragon, and then you get that second summon off it. Fiend Sanctuary, I want the Ultras of these, the Champions Pack 5 Ultras, but basically anything that's token generation in Earthbound Immortal deck is what you're looking for, because you don't want to be wasting any real resources to do it. Fiend Sanctuary is one of my favourites, because your opponent also won't attack the token, because they'll take all the damage from it. You have to pay 1,000 to maintain the token, but if the token will last more than 5 minutes, it's not worth it. You could also use a one-time passcode, which is a Cyburst one. And then finally there are 3 Metal Reflect Slimes, which just keep your opponent off your face for a while. You can optionally run Egyptian God Slime if you've got the money to blow on with a copy of that, because you just tribute this, and then you've got a gigantic wall that your opponent has problems getting past, which then, because they have the problem getting past it, you eventually add an Earthbound Immortal to sit next to it, and then your opponent is truly fucked. Right, second to last of the undecked box decks, and that is Utopia. There's only one card missing from this, and also it's not even in order, and that is the second copy of Leo Utopia. I only own one copy, and so instead I'm using 2 copies of Ultimate Draconic, which is not as good. I'm going to quickly put this in order for the sake of talking about it. This is Utopia is one of those decks that I've sort of had a couple of times. The first time I had it, it was basically a very similar build, but I ended up having to, somebody offered me good money for it, so I was like, fuck it. I can always do with the money more than I can do with cardboard, and it went towards my computer as it stands. This was a good couple of years ago, before some of the new really good support came out, so you know, it was worth the money, I'll say that. And then more recently I built it again, with the only expensive part being Astral Karibos, which are now like a £10 a copy. Which I'm not going to say I'm completely disappointed by, because it is as good as it sounds. The problem is it's like quite a chunk for a deck that I won't be taking to like events or anything like I barely go to locals nowadays, so it kind of feels like a very expensive way to blow money. But at the same time, having decks makes me feel good. So, and also some of these decks are also investments, in that I obviously won't be playing Yu-Gi-Oh forever, like at least not in physical form. And like if you've got a completed deck that is like not complete trash, then you can always sell a deck. Like there will always be, for example with this, there will always be somebody who wants a fully built Utopia deck that's actually like had some decent effort put into the building of it. And with the Astral Karibos in this that cost me like 30 quid, it pushes the value, and like the onomatopoeias are like 15 quid a play set. So like you're looking at, just between those, that's 45 quid. This deck is like, I could easily sell this deck for like 60 quid on its own. If I was in a pinch and I needed to make money, I could do that. Not that I would, but I could if I wanted / needed to. Right, that's that back in order. So we all know what Utopia is. I'm using this artwork for it. I do actually have in my folder, because when I first got it I didn't actually have that artwork, I just had the crap one from the structure deck. I will be showing off the folder afterwards as well, but I was using these lovely Korean ones that are prismatic secret that you can't really see that well because they're in 2 layers of sleeves and one of those layers is matted. But yeah, I've found a real love for Korean secret rares because they're fucking dirt cheap and they are really beautiful. Yeah, I'll come back to the folder later because it's worth showing off. It's not complete, but there are lots of things I'd like to add to it eventually. But it's my cool folder. It's the look but don't touch folder. So we start with 3 copies of Astraltopia. So if you control an Xyz monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can send a card from your hand to the field or field to the graveyard to add an XYZ, an Onomat, a Zexal, or a number spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So basically this is a free special summon of a level 4 monster. Since your main goal in this deck is to get to Utopia as quickly as possible, this is perfect for that. Or like get to multiple Utopias, as we'll explain later. But it also adds virtually every other support card in the entire deck to your hand if you need to. Sadly it's only got 0 attack and defense. But who cares? Astral Karibo, this card is insane, like stupidly levels of insane. There are probably, like, I've only ever seen like 2 or 3 people play this card correctly, like with all of its effects in play. Right, so you can reveal a number Xyz monster from your actual deck and special summon it from your hand. If you do, its level becomes the revealed number's rank. So like you reveal Utopia, it becomes a level 4, obviously. While it's in its face up in the monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters from the actual deck except number monsters. Oh no, anyway. You can only use that effect once per turn. A number Xyz monster that was summoned using this card as material cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. The amount of times I've seen somebody try and dark hole my Utopia that was summoned off the back of an Astral Karibo or destroyed by battle, or go, oh, but your Utopia is out of materials, it has to destroy itself when I declare an attack. No, it was summoned with Astral Karibo. It's protected from its own effect. Like, the number of people who read this card can probably be counted on one hand. Like, I've only seen, like, when I played the original version of this deck at locals, somebody was playing the Numeron combo, you know, the do 10,000 damage off Draglubian thing. That might be the only person I've ever met in person who's read this card and didn't try dark holing it or, you know, doing anything to it, because the number of people who try to go, oh, you know, Reijiki, no, it's so ridiculously good for level 1, for just like a Karibo that is used in number decks. This card is freaking insane, and I love it. It's basically made like for it being the most. I reckon these three together cost more than this entire deck, but they're worth it because they make like they give you a wall that your opponent has real problems getting over. The next card is Atomic Onomatopoeia. This is the second most expensive card in the deck. This is like £5 a copy for no reason. So it's always treated as a Zubaba, Gaga, Go Go Go, and Do 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 card because they had all the onomatopoeia cards in Zexal, and that's probably the most annoying thing about this. During your main phase, you can special summon up to one of the onomat cards from your hand in defense. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Exceed monsters. You can only use that effect once per turn. So if you're holding 3 of these in your hand, you can actually special summon 2 of them off the back of one of them. Also, you can summon these or this, and I'm not even reading their names because I'm not doing that. But yeah, so this is always treated as every onomat type. These are treated between them as every onomat type, but they also have their own built-in effects. Also, I recently found out that off the back of that, you can search it off onomat pickup or onomat para. So, because I'm not reading the name. If you control it, fuck's sakes. Except itself, while this is in your hand, you can special summon it. You can target one of these in your graveyard and special summon it. You cannot special summon monsters from the rest of the turn except Exceed monsters. Again, a lot of these effects are basically the Jeremy Clarkson "Oh no" anyway meme because they don't matter. And then we have thing 2, which is during your main phase you can special summon from your hand. If you control a Go or Do 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 monster except itself while it's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. So a lot of it has a lot of recursion. And I think the rest of the monsters in the deck are all Zexal weapons. Yeah. Okay, so Tornado Bringer. This is like I don't know if I actually run. I don't know what's classified as like the good ones, quote unquote. But I just run the ones that are most relevant to when I've been playing the deck, and then I've got a bunch of them spare that like sort of side deck options, I suppose. That's basically what these are. These are the perfect side deck toolbox bullshit options. So you can target Utopia, you control, equip it from your hand or face up on the field to it. Against that monster against 1300 attack. While it's equipped, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. If a monster equipped with this card will be destroyed by battle, destroy this card instead. Odds of it being destroyed by battle, very, very low. Read the fucking card! But at the same time, it's really, really good because it prevents your opponent from targeting a card that already can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So you've basically got an indestructible 3800 attack, like towers that can't be dealt with. Like obviously you can just the only thing you can really do against that is wall up, because it doesn't. I don't think there's one that does piercing, which is what makes me sad about the next one. Because this one should have piercing, but it doesn't, and I'm sad about that. Instead, this can only target a face-up C39 Utopia Ray, but it gives that monster 1900 attack, and if it battles an opponent's monster, that monster's effects are negated during the battle phase only, which has helped in it against Burning Abyss. It's helped against Shadol. It's helped against a lot of decks that have activating protection effects, like Zen mains. Very rarely play against anything that runs Zen mains. The actual example I'll make there is Fortune Tune, because Fortune Tune I have actually played against. It's just a lot of things that have like built-in protections this can get around, whereas they've got like, for example, killing a Mac in a fortress or a citadel. Actually not a citadel, that's a lie, that doesn't work that way. But killing a fortress will negate the fortress's effect, which is really, really good. Again, the only Zexal weapons I'm running are ones that have actually benefited me. Specifically, Twin Pegasus. This is a Veiler. You can only control one, though. If your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, you can special summon it from your hand. You can target Utopia, equip it as an equip spell that gives it 1k attack. Once per turn, you can Veiler an opponent's monster. So this one's just a Veiler, basically, which is really good. Or an Imperm. your choice. These two don't really count as actual weapons, but they do their job perfectly well. If you control no cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. A Utopia Exceed monster that was summoned using this as material gains the effect that when it's summoned, you can add a rank up magic from your spell from your deck to your hand, as long as it's one of the normal rank up magic spells, which we'll come to shortly. And then the other one is Armed Sage, which is if the only monster you control is a level 4, you can special summon it. A Utopia monster summoned using this gains the effect that on summon you can add as extra weapon from your deck to your hand, which will usually be Pegasus Twin Saber or Tornado Bringer because they have the best effects. And then we're on to spells. So we're running the big rank up. Now something I should probably mention about this deck existing is in the OCG they got Utopia Structure Deck. We got all of this in Brothers of Legend, which made getting it a lot more expensive. Because, like, if it was just a structure deck, you're literally just paying like 30 quid for 3 structure decks, and you generally get almost everything you need. But no, we had to pay a lot more for stuff that should have been there. Anyway, so this one allows you to rank up any Utopia that's level 9 or lower into any Utopia or utopic monster that's level 10 or higher, which will always be this one. Utopic Dragonar summons another one from the extra deck, but we'll come back to that later. So when you... hold on. If an Exceed monster is special summoned by the effect of a rank 10 or higher Utopia or Utopic Exceed, once in your graveyard, you can target one of those special summon monsters, attach this card to it as material. So when Utopia Dragonar uses its effect to summon Utopia from the extra deck, or usually Leo or Draconic, you can equip this to it as material immediately, which is actually really good. And then rank up magic Zexal Force, which turns any Utopia. Target an Exceed monster you control, special summon from your extra deck, a Utopia or a Zexal weapon monster that is one rank higher than that monster. So any Utopia into any C Utopia basically, or any Utopia into Zexal weapon, Halberd or Leo arms. And then of course you've got either of these two, which both count as C39s, and then of course you've got Kaiser and that for hyper. Also, if your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher, you can banish this card and draw one. So it also cycles itself in a specific scenario, which isn't terrible. Then we're running one copy of Numeron Force, partially because I only own one copy, and partially because you only need one copy. When you rank up using it, you also nuke your opponent's monster's effects on the field, which is pretty good. There's only one thing that I sort of regret not having in here specifically, and that is Utopia Beyond, which is the rank 6 one, because it also nukes your opponent's monster's attack down to nothing, and you can play that very healthily in this deck, and I think I even have a spare, and I just didn't put it in. But this just nukes your opponent's monster's effects on play. Generally you only need one of these anyway. Like I had it at 2 at one point, when I had the ultra rare as well, but yeah, just one is good, plus it's in this cool gold rare, which is nice. And then the last rank up I run is Quick Chaos, because nothing's funnier than during your opponent's turn turning your Utopia into a Draconic or a Leo, and then watching as they crap themselves trying to deal with that. It's just because it's a quick effect one basically, so you can rank up during your opponent's turn. Next we have 3 Zexal Construction. So you reveal a card in your hand and add one of the following cards from your deck to your hand and shuffle the reveal card into your deck. So you either add a Zexal Weapon, a ZS, a Zexal Spell or Trap, a rank up magic, or a rank down magic. Now I don't run the rank down magic because I don't use Utopia Roots, which is the rank 1, so that's irrelevant. But basically everything else is valid here. Like you can use it to search up the hyper rank up, or either of the Zexal weapon, or any of the Zexal weapons, or either of the ZS cards. Generally this will always be useful. So like it just basically allows you to toolbox into whatever you need. Onomata pickup. When it's activated, you can add an Onomat card from your deck to your hand, which will be either this or Onomatopoeia, this fucking thing, which is really, really useful. You can target any of those monsters you control. All monsters you control become that level, which is kind of pointless. All you do is, this is almost exclusively exists just to thin your deck by one card. I should probably be running 3 of that actually, now I come to think about it. And then we've got Onomatopoeia, which is, you can only activate this once per turn. Send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add 2 monsters from your deck with those annoying categories, the Onomatopoeia ones. And this is the thing I was talking about earlier, where this counts as 2 of them. So if you're already holding 1, you can activate that to add 2 more, and you can just summon all 3. But you have to classify each one as a different one, as if that matters. Of course, Rota in a deck that actually needs it, because everything's warrior. And then numbers protection, which is when a spell or trap or monster effect is negated while you control activated while you control a number, negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. If a number exceeds material you control is destroyed without the card effect while it's in your graveyard, you can put this back on your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Real simple. Now for the extra deck. Again, this is missing 1 card because I need to get a second Leo. Until then, I'm using 2 Ultimate Draconics, which just isn't good. This is at best a 1 of. I mean, there could be an argument made that if you need more than 1 of these per game, you're probably going to lose, but I like having the option in case. I don't know, in case something comes up. So we've got 2 number 99 Utopia Dragonars. So quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from it, special summon from your extra deck a number that has a number between 1 and 100. It is treated as an Xyz summon. The turn you activate this effect, other monsters you control cannot attack directly, except for itself obviously, and you cannot special summon from the extra deck except Xyz monsters. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can change the attack of the monster to 0. You can only do that once per turn. But, like, with that being during the damage step, basically, so they're attacking your monster, which is probably buffed up additionally by use Exo weapons. At minimum, say they're attacking exclusively this, they are taking 3k damage to their own face if they don't read that can reduce their attack. Utopia Kaiser. I think this is actually the only copy of this I own, because I refuse to put it in my number collection, because it's not the secret rare from Battles of Legend. Once per turn you can special summon a rank 9 or lower number monsters with 3k or less attack that have different ranks from each other from your extra deck, up to a number of materials with different names attached to this card, but their effects are negated. Then detach 1 material from this card. For the rest of the turn, unless this effect was negated, you cannot special summon, and any battle damage your opponent takes becomes half, or you control another number of monsters this cannot be destroyed by battle card effects. This is only really in here because I needed a card, and that's it. I'd probably never use this. I don't really think the effect is good enough to validate it. Hold on, I'm gonna... Sorry, I'm having a rough time with the coughing tonight. Ultimate Utopia Ray. So both this and Leo are both always treated as C39s, which means you can't use standard C39 Utopia Ray, as if that's a big deal. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, it targets this. When this card is, or when it's targeted for an attack, you can equip a Zexal weapon from your hand or deck to this as if it was equipped by its own effect. Once per turn you can detach a material, then target a face-up card your opponent controls, up to a number of Zexal weapon monsters, and negate their effects. So essentially your opponent tries to attack it, you equip either of those that give it 3k attack, or any of the ones from the deck that give it a Veiler effect, or untarget ability, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. Again, Utopia requires sort of effectively a toolbox of different Utopia weapons to get what you're looking for out of them. Leo Utopia Ray, which is actually the better one by a significant country mile, Once per turn you can detach a material and equip a Zexal weapon from your deck or extra deck to this as if it was equipped by that monster's effect. This effect cannot be negated. Once per turn while this card is equipped with a Zexal weapon, you can target effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effect, and if you do, half its attack, so it's a lost wind, a quick effect lost wind in a monster, which is really, really powerful. And of course we've got 3 Utopias, 2 level 4s. If you can negate any attack by detaching 1 material, if it has no material and is attacked or battles, oh no, if it has no materials and it's targeted for an attack, then it dies. Unless you summon it using Utopia, the actual Grebo. These 2 cards I'm sort of testing at the moment because I don't know how I feel about them. This one's brand new, Utopia Rising. If it's special summoned, you can target a number monster in your graveyard except itself, special summon it in defense. Then you can detach all materials from this and attach them to that monster. If you exceed summon during the damage step, except during the damage step, you can special summon this from your graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. I'm not really sure how this benefits. I guess you could use, if you summon this first, get a Utopia out of the grave, equip the material from this to it, and then rank this one up, maybe rank the other one up as well if you're holding 2 rank up magics. I don't know. It's just new and I wanted to try it, so, and if it doesn't work I'll just find something else. And Gaga Magician. 2 level 4s. You can attach them. This is exclusively because in the, I think it was a solo mission, or it might just be a different version of the deck that I built, and I tried it and I thought, fuck, that's actually pretty cool. You can detach material and target an XE monster in your graveyard except this, and special summon it but negates effects. You can only use this effect once per turn. A utopic future XE that has this card's material has the effect that during the main phase you can detach 2 materials and target an XE monster you control and change its attack to 4k and negate its effect. So this is only really useful if you're using the utopic future monsters, but at the same time I guess it's still just a way to get an XE monster out of the grave. And then finally we have, god damn it, I really don't know what's causing this cough tonight. It's not like I've even been smoking recently. So we have Leo Arms and Dragonic Halberd. So this card can attack your opponent, cannot attack your opponent directly, but that doesn't matter because it's only ever going to be used as Zexal weapon. You can detach a material from it, add a Zexal weapon from your deck to your hand. You can target a Utopia monster or equip it against 3k attack. During your battle phase, if a monster attacked this turn while equipped with this, you can send this to the grave. The monster that was equipped can make a second attack on an opponent's monster during that battle phase. So it's kind of trash. Basically, it's only ever going to be in there to give something 3k attack. Basically, to give Leo Ray an additional 3k attack. The second attack, I suppose, is pretty good if you use the Lost Wind effect at the same time. So there are use case scenarios for it, I suppose. I don't think you'd ever summon it. And then Dragonic Halberd must be in here for a reason. Also, attack director, brilliant. You can detach 1 material, add a Zexal spell trap from your deck to your hand. Again, you can equip it. When the equipped monster destroys a monster by battle, you can special summon to your field any number of Zexal weapon monsters equipped to it. Again, you'll never do that because Zexal weapons in general have very low attack points in order to make up for the fact that they have pretty decent effects. Right, there's only one unboxed deck remaining, and that is my Bakura character deck. This is themed around the character Bakura from the anime, and it's used when people are playing Yugi deck or Kaiba deck, One person has a Chaz Princeton deck. More recently, I got a Yusei Fudo deck because I thought it was cool. I'm missing like half the extra deck for it. And I also got my friend, the same person who sold me the Yusei deck, also sold me a Jack Atlas deck, or like the vast majority of. It's not like all of the Yusei and Jack deck, but it is most of it. So like, what's left to buy out of it besides the one £10 Resonator, which might be getting reprinted in the Jack Atlas deck that's coming anyway, is going to be fairly cheap pickups. Like, most of the cards that are in those, like, that are used by those characters are sort of mostly like anime trash, basically, if I'm honest. It looks like my headphones are picking up static. Let me just check that. I'm wondering if that's been the case the whole stream. No, if there is, it's not picking it up. Hold on, unless my stream is. Let me see. Oh, right, hold on. Yeah, there is some background noise. Oh, I'll have to work that out another time. We're getting pretty close to the end, and I've been actually. It's actually taken me quite a bit longer than I thought it would. So I don't know if there will actually be FTL afterwards, unless it's like super low energy FTL. So this deck is based on Bakura. We all have. There's a good number of us who just have character decks. Most of us have Yugi decks, like different variants of Yugi's deck. There are people who have Kaiba's deck, like again different variants of Kaiba decks. We don't have anybody with a Pegasus deck. My friend Michael has a Marek deck, which is generally my main competition. Although he doesn't use it as often nowadays because we told him that using Winged Dragon and Ra Phoenix mode is bullshit. Because there's nothing in this game like mode that can actually beat a 4K untouchable monster. He also has a Joey Wheeler deck. Alex doesn't have a character deck yet, which is why I got him the Jack Atlas one. And we will be building him a DM era deck at some point. But for now I've got Bakura, and I want to build a Yugi and a Kaiba one at least. We'll come back to why once I get to the folder. So, okay, yeah, we'll start with Dark Necrophere. Bakura's signature monster, Dark Necrophere. Banish 3 fiends from your grave to special summon it when it's destroyed. Could not access my stream key. You fucking serious? Right. Twitch really doesn't want me streaming anymore tonight, I guess. It's still saying my connection is unstable, although OBS has given me a different story. Now it's saying excellent, and OBS is saying that's true. So cool. God fucking damn it. This is the weirdest kind of crash I've ever had while streaming. Usually network is not the problem. Right. So, continuing on. I use this version, this very specific version of Dark Necrophere from Master Collection 1 because on its card text it doesn't specify where you have to, where this has to be to banish, in order to get this effect to special summon itself by banishing 3 fiends from graveyard. So this is the one I use. I do have a Labyrinth of Nightmare one somewhere, I just don't know where. Invader of Darkness. A lot of these are sort of not necessarily straight up in Bakura's deck, but are definitely themed around the idea of Bakura's deck. So the next one is Invader of Darkness, which basically just turns off quick play spells, which basically no character deck really uses anyway. So, I mean, the only upside is that it can cancel out Super Poly against a Jaden deck, but to be fair, that's probably never going to happen. There might be a Toon card that does something, or Roulette Spider, but really it's only in there because it's a big dark fiend. Diabolos, King of the Abyss. This has actually become one of my favourite cards in the character decks, because a lot of the stuff that is in here is just like, this is basically a screw with your opponent in funny ways, and usually it backfires horribly, but at least it's fun while it's happening. So Diablo's King of the Abyss is one of the cards that can't be special summoned. Oh no, hold on, that's not. Yeah, there's. This card cannot be tributed by a card's effect, which is also irrelevant in character decks. The funny effect is, during your opponent's draw phase, before they actually draw, look at the top card of their deck, and then I can choose to either keep it on top of their deck or put it on the bottom of their deck, which is just funny, and that's all the reason it's there for. Dark Ruler Hades, another classic Bakura deck. This is also the Masters Collection one. Like, this is sort of like, when I was trying to explain GOAT format, because the last time I played competitively was when GOAT format was basically the only format, and most of what it was like back then was just having shinier cards than your opponent. It was just a huge flex fest. But Dark Ruler Hades just negates the effects of any monsters destroyed by fiends. It doesn't really do much. I believe it was... Like, the weird thing is this card was actually useful for a while, because during Monarch, the very first time Monarchs came out, having 50 attack points more than Monarchs was actually super useful. Puppet Master, almost definitely a Bakura card. 1 tribute, 0 attack and defense, pay 2,000 life points, special summon 2 fiends from your graveyard, and they can't attack this turn. Very useful in a lot of situations. Patrician of Darkness is one of my favourite. My favourite fuck you cards, because it allows me to choose the target of any attack made by by any opponent. Like, sometimes when we do these character duels, we tend to do them as like more than 1v1, and so somebody's saying, "Okay, I'm attacking you," and I go, "Actually, no, you're attacking that guy over there. Have fun." Direbound Colonel, of course, is a Bakura card, but this card is also a deck that I want to try building another type of deck around, because this card is ridiculously fast if there's another monster on the field, in the sense that you can banish it at any time to reduce a monster by 1800 attack, and it comes back during the next standby phase. Also, it gains 600 when it attacks something, which is hilarious. Doom Calibanite, Bakura card, guaranteed Bakura card. Just blows itself up if anybody tries to activate a monster effect to negate it. And then we got the Vanilla Army, the Isle of Demise, the Headless Knight, the Gross Close to Fled Dreams, Portrait Secret, and Earthbound Spirit. Those are the painful choice targets. Generally, to put fiends in the graveyard, you usually get Duke of Demise, Earl of Demise, because it's the one that's hardest to summon, and generally the rest go to grave as fodder for Dark Necrophere. These two are new, Dark Spirit Banishment and Dark Spirit Malice, and they'll be coming back up soon, because I also use them in my Unchained. But they both have effects of, when your opponent does something, you can get a level 8 fiend out of your graveyard that has its effects negated. Which actually doesn't matter for Dark Necrophere, because Dark Necrophere fully resolves in grave after its effects have basically stopped being negated. This one is the better of the two by a country mile though, because when your opponent declares an attack during the damage step, you resolve this one, and to summon a level 8 fiend from grave that they then have to attack. And because it's during the damage step, you need something that can negate it during the damage step to do that. And also both of them have the effect that when a level 8 fiend is sent to graveyard, you can add it back to your hand. So it creates like a nice big loop. Slate Warrior. Flip effect, increase the attack and defense with this by 500. The attack and defense of a monster that destroys this is decreased by 500, so it's not really anything much but a level 4 solid monster. Rigorous Reaver, each player discards a card. A monster that destroys it loses 500 attack and defense. Definitely a Bakura card, Kaiko the Ghost Destroyer, also one of the like classic GOAT cards. being a level 4 with 1800 attack was very, very good. With its effect also being ridiculous in that if it inflicts battle damage, you get to banish 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard. Jargon the Spiritualist, no monsters can be special summoned. You can also discard a card from your hand at any, not at any time, I nearly said at any time, to destroy special summon monsters on the field. Noble Man-Eater Bug is an evolution of Standard Man-Eater Bug, which we know Bakura uses, and that's just destroy 1 when flip summoned, destroy 2 when flip summoned. And the same goes for Pot the Forbidden, with Morphing Jar. So, not really exactly the same thing, because Pot of the Forbidden is obviously a significant, drastic upgrade. But Morphing Jar, when it's flipped face up, your opponent discards their card, draws 5 no cards. Pot of the Forbidden, however, is when it's flip summoned, you get to choose to either Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards, Giant Trunade, return all spell and traps on the field to the hand, Rager Key, destroy all monsters your opponent controls, or Forceful Sentry. Forceful Sentry. Look at their hand and shuffle cards from their hand into their deck. Spear Kraken, when it's flip summoned, it summons a monster in face up attack or face down defense. From both players do that. Both you and your opponent select a monster from your respective graveyard, special summon them on face up attack or face down defense. No tribute is required for the level 5 or more. That effect is so old, it has to specify that. Dark Sanctuary is one of the trolley cards in this deck, in that if your opponent declares an attack, they have to flip a coin to see if the attack even works. If they fail the coin flip, then they take half their monster's attack as life point damage. And that's basically all it's there for, because I don't run any of the I don't run Destiny board stuff because it's crap. Painful Choice. Choose 5 fiends, well, choose 5 monsters in your deck. Your opponent chooses 1 that you get and the rest go to grave. Then for the troll / lockdown stuff, we know Bakura uses Chain Energy, which is what inspired using the rest of them. So both players have to pay 500 to play any cards from their hand. Vengeful Bog Spirit is monsters can't attack on the turn they're summoned. The Dark Door is each player can only attack with 1 monster. Gravekeeper Servant is each player has to, or just your opponent has to mill to declare an attack. Toll is both players have to pay 500 to declare an attack. Change of Heart, which actually just became semi-legal basically, is just steal 1 of your opponent's monsters. Monster Reborn. Pay 800 to Monster Reborn. Each player selects a monster in a graveyard and special summons it in face down defense. Puppet Magic is you choose a fiend you control and select 1 fiend monster in your graveyard, remove from play monsters on your side of the field whose total level stars equal the level of the selected fiend in your graveyard and special summon it. So basically you can banish like up to level 8 to get a level 8 out of your graveyard. Fiend Sanctuary, because we know this card was around during Battle City, and I reckon Bakura probably would have had at least 1. Tribute to the Doom, discard 1 card to destroy a card. Shed of Pain, which is both players select and choose tribute 1 monster for no cost. Exchange and Dark Designator, which is the combo he used against Marek to steal the Winged Dragon of Ra and then not use it successfully. Anti, which is both players reveal a monster in their hand, or well in general a card. The one with the highest level wins, the one with the lower level, their card goes to the graveyard and they take 1000 damage. Pot of Greed. And then we have Spiritualism, significantly better MST and also a better Night Beam of the time, because it can't be interacted with or negated. Then for trap lineup we have 3 Zombie Spirit, a card we actually do know he uses, which is another one of those things where your opponent takes the damage. We have Call of the Earthbound, which redirects attack targets. We have Dark Spirit of the Silent, where if your opponent attacks a monster you control, you can change the battle position of a and select another one of your opponent's face-up monsters and have it attack. So yeah, if your opponent has like a Blue Eyes and a Lord of D on their field and they attack you with the Blue Eyes, which of course they will do, you can negate the attack from the Blue Eyes and suddenly their Lord of D is crashing into Dark Necrofear or something. And finally we have Michizuri, which is if you lose a monster, your opponent loses a monster. That's the Bakura deck. character deck, more for fun than anything else. But I will be building a Yugi and a Kaiba deck eventually because I feel like they kind of need to be built. Right, hold on. Let's Right now, what order do I do these in? I think we're going to do branded first. So I actually do have a branded Despia deck. The problem is I'm not a good player and I don't know how to use it properly. So I tend to end up fucking up combos and not actually making the best plays possible. Even though it is basically a good deck. It's a good deck, it's just being piloted by me who's an idiot, so... this is probably the most questionable version of the deck you'll ever see, so prepare for bullshit. So we've got Albion the Branded Dragon, which is, it becomes Fallen of Albaz while on the field in the graveyard. If it's in your hand or graveyard, you can send a Fallen of Albaz or a branded spell or trap from your hand or deck to the graveyard. If it was from the hand, you can special summon this. If it was from the deck, you can place this on the bottom of the deck and then draw one card. Basically, it's just in there because you send Branded Sword and then draw one card. And then put this on the bottom of the deck, draw one. Fallen of Albaz, because all the fusions revolve around it. It's a walking super poly, in the same way that Unchained Spirit of Disaster is a walking super poly for Exceed monsters. I'm trying out 2 Albaziashin because I bought a playset and sort of sunken cost fallacy. I just feel like I have to use them now, even though they're not really that good. So it becomes Fallen of Albaz. If a level 8 fusion monster is in the graveyard, it gains 200 attack for each monster in your graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot target other monsters with card effects. If a monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card and a fusion monster in your graveyard, you can special summon this. It's a long-winded effect to say it does nothing, but it's in. There is actually a card I found that makes it kind of useful. So, Dramaturge of Despia, which is if anything is summoned from the extra deck, you can target an effect monster on the field and negate its effect until the end of the turn. If it's used as fusion material, you can special summon this card. So that's pretty good because it's 3k attack. And then we've got Adlib. During the main phase, you can make all monsters on the field gain attack equal to their own level. If this card is in your hand or field is used as fusion and sent to the graveyard or banished, you can target one of your other Despia monsters that are level 8 or higher fusion monsters that is banished and special summon it. Of course, you run 3 Alaba. When Alaba is summoned, you search for any branded spell or trap. If a face-up fusion monster is destroyed by battle or leaves the field, while this card is in your graveyard, you can target effect monster your opponent controls, special summon this, and negate that monster's effect, which also gives you another branded search. We got 2 copies of Tragedy. If this card is sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect, you can add a Despia monster from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card yourself and target a branded spell or trap, set it to the field. Despian Comedy. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Despia, you can discard this card, negate that effect. If it's in your graveyard, you can tribute a fusion monster, special summon this. You can only use one of those effects per turn. This is good for dodging some kinds of effects. I was told. I'm not sure exactly how that works. So. We have the Iris Sword Soul, and I will come back to this later because this is in here for a very, very specific reason. But I do enjoy this card a lot, and I've only pulled off the specific combo one time, and it's kind of crap anyway because the deck isn't really built to do it. But it does count as a Sword Soul regardless, so it's kind of worth it. So during the main phase, if a monster whose effect is negated is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can activate one of these effects based on where it was special summoned from. So if they special summon a monster from their hand, you can also special summon a monster from your hand. If they summon one from their deck, you can draw 2 cards, and if you summon from their extra deck, you can destroy one of the monsters special summoned from the extra deck. It's also a 2500 attack beater, which is really, really powerful. And also, I believe it's pretty much the reason it exists in this deck, the attack and defense stat. But I'll have to see. One Shadow Beast. This is because you need dark targets, and also when you send it off Branded Fusion, you get to draw a card. Incredible Ecclesia, which is, I believe, the reason. Nope. Oh yeah, this is the reason Iris Sword Soul was in here. So if your opponent controls more monsters, you can special summon this from your hand. You can only special summon it once per turn that way. So once per turn during your main phase, you contribute this card special summon a Sword Soul or a Fallen Valbez from your hand or deck. During the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand. So this can summon Iris Sword Soul from deck, and if they've got a negated monster on the field, then it can use it. So it can use the TTT effect. We've got one copy of this, the Golden Sword Soul from the Destructed deck, which is just a battle negate basically. If you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Valbaz, you can destroy the monster that declared its attack. If a monster is banished face up, you can banish this card from your field or graveyard and special summon a light spellcaster from your hand or graveyard whose attack equals its own defense, which is Iris Sword Soul. And I believe, yeah, you can also do it for the Ecclesia. Springand's Kit. If you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Valbaz as material, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal special summoned, you can add to your hand one of your branded spells or traps that is banished or in your deck or graveyard, and place one card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So basically it's an easy way to search branded and red, branded fusion, you know, any of that good stuff. And this is how you negate monster effects in this deck with Tri-Brigade Mercuria. See, I could be running Ash Blossom or something, which is more common, but like I've only got a set of those and I don't really know how to use hand traps properly. So when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen Valbaz as material, you can discard this card to negate that effect. If this card is banished, you can add it from your deck to your hand, a Fallen Valbaz or a monster that mentions it except for itself. So basically this is how you negate their effect in order to get the effect off of Iris Sword Soul. I could probably do with learning how to use hand traps better in order to make the entire deck better, or myself as a player, but we'll see. Despia Theatre are demanded. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If a face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect or is destroyed by battle, you can target a level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So when something is, it's only the first effect I use that for basically. Branded loss just means your fusions cannot be, your fusion spells cannot be negated effectively. And also, if you fusion a monster, you can add a Fallen Valbaz or a monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. Branded fusion. Fusion using Fallen Valbaz, sending monsters from your deck. Easy. Branded in red is add a Despia or Fallen Valbaz from your graveyard to your hand, and then you can fusion summon a level 8 by banishing. Branded opening basically only exists to summon Alaba. That's basically all that does. Branded High Spirits is why Obez Yashin is actually semi-useful, and it is reveal a monster in your hand and send a level 8 fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard with the same type. It has 2500 attack or defense, which is all of the Albaz fusions. Then you apply this effect. Discard the revealed monster, and if you do, add a Fallen Valbaz or a monster that lists it in its text from your deck to your hand. During the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can undiscard from the graveyard to your hand. So basically you just get it straight back as well. It's actually not terrible, it's not great either, but it'll do. Triple Allure and Branded Sword. Branded Sword just summons tokens. And then, I mean, the extra deck is pretty basic. Like, it's the same as every other branded Despia extra deck. It's Libellions, Mirror Jades. The only difference I got is Mysterion, because I couldn't afford an Albalanetus. That's the only reason I'm running that. Proskenion, because I find that sometimes that actually comes in handy. The only thing this deck is really missing is Super Polys and hand traps. Quiratis, Double Masquerade, because of that I'm once again requesting all of your life points for you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! If I could run Flare Dragon and that, I probably wouldn't, let's be honest. Double Titanic Lad, because I used to run Dogmatica Ecclesia, Fleur but I don't run that anymore, so it's kind of not as good as it was. Double Albion. Fucking camera angle makes it hard to... It's because I'm slouching over and I'm losing the angle. It searches a branded spell or trap during the end phase. Brigand adds a Tri-Brigade, which is Kit, and Sprind adds Springer. No, it's Springan's Kit, Tri-Brigade, What am I running? It's Tri Brigade. Oh, Mercury. So yeah, there's plenty of options. It just needs a better. I need to be better at the game in order to play this deck well. But it's probably the highest tiered deck I've got. Sadly, I don't know how to use it, so it doesn't really count as a tiered deck. Next, speaking of tiered decks, sort of, is this in order? It already is. Excellent. Is a zombie mesh hatred deck. In that I started out by just. So this deck started out just being a deck where because I hate people who play Eldritch, I was just running Balladrock Turbo, basically, to punish people who play Eldritch. Very specific, but when everybody's playing it, like if you're playing an out to it, then you basically just can't lose to it. And then all the Eldritch stuff got reprinted in Emged and Mago, so I was able to get it, and now it's a self-loathing hypocrite zombie deck instead. In that it has become the very thing it sought to destroy. So we've got 3 gold Eldritch, the Bling Daddies. We all know what that does. Actually, this is going to be mostly just we all know what this does because it's just zombies. Double Balladrock. This is one of the ones that people might not know what it does. Algorn with 0. Effectively, if a zombie would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can banish it from your hand or graveyard instead. If it's banished, you can resummon it immediately. It just loses 1 level. It's really good. Jacobolans, which is you can discard a zombie to special summon it. During your opponent's main phase, you can target a zombie in either player graveyard and special summon that monster, but banish it when it leaves the field. Then banish this face-up card until the end phase, so you're basically just swapping it out for a monster until the end phase. Probably the single most powerful card in this deck, Vampire Fraulein. You can run this in any deck, but basically you can summon it whenever an attack is declared, and you can pay up to 3k life points on attack declaration, and your attacking monster gains that many attack points. Also, if this specifically kills a monster by battle, you can steal that monster during the end of the battle phase. Also, generally I use this a lot more for denying. If your opponent's going to kill you, you can just pay your own life points until you have 0, and they can't kill you. Necro World, we all know what that does. It just gives you Zombie World. Mizuki just gives you a zombie back from grave. Shiranui gives you Uni-Zombie. Uni-Zombie sends 1 zombie from deck to graveyard and 1 from hand to graveyard. Usually this will be Necro World. This will be your Necro World, this will be your Glow Up Bloom, your Balladrock, your Eldritch the Golden Lord, Plague Spreader Zombie, Glow Up Bloom, Zombie Worlds. 1 Super Poly because I run Dragon Necro and an Eldritch and Mad Golden Lord, because you never know when you're going to need a Super Poly target. Card Destruction because they're all zombies, so they all do pretty decent things in the grave anyway. Monster Reborn. Triple Elixir Black, which is Handle Deck. Triple Elixir White, which is Handle Graveyard. 1 copy Foolish Burial. And Triple Scarlet Gangrene, which is Deck or Graveyard. I used to run Vampire Domination, which is a vampire counter trap, which is normally negate if you control a vampire, but also if you negate a monster effect with it, you gain life points equal to the negated monster's attack points. Then for the extra deck, we've got our 2 Super Poly targets, Eldritch and Mad Golden Lord and Dragon Necro Never Soul Dragon. A Star Eater, like a lot of this doesn't make any sense. Dragon Cytos Corrupted Never Soul Dragon. This is exclusively in here because when Cyberdark End Dragon was coming out, I just needed something that couldn't be destroyed by battle to, you know, sort of sit in the way of it. Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Shenying. Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. Skeletal Dragon Fell Lord. Standard Doomkaiser Dragon. The Zombie Vampire. Wallow Founder of Judge. Borreload, Vampire Fascinator, Vampire Sucker, and a Vendread Saviour. I'm getting really hot and really tired, so I hope nobody will be offended that I'm kind of rushing through this now. Right. One of my more recent builds, which I'm still technically working out the extra deck for, so forgive me while I do that, is MathMech. Everybody knows that MathMech are I'm bored of this. I think I've talked so much that I've talked myself out of caring about Yu-Gi-Oh! Either that or I'm just too fucking hot from the spotlight. Oh. I might just leave that as it is and then do part 2 of the deck profiles another time. Like just the boxed decks. It's, oh god, it's just too hot. I'm literally burning up and sweating sitting by my computer because of the ring light. What time is it? Fucking hell, 11:15. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to find someone to raid, and then I'm going to go stand outside where it's cold, because holy fuck, man. Also, speaking straight out for 3 hours is not something I'm used to, so oh god. So disable the webcam. Try not to spill the can of Coke. Let's just put it on. Disable that. Screaming. There you go. Oh god. It's been so long since I've even had the webcam set up. Oh, God, I've got a spell. Well, I started Spellbook and Altergeist and I can't even remember what the other deck is there. Right, let's find someone to raid. Who was on? I might. I might not raid.